Yep. Wow, let's do this. All right. First episode, Buds Aplenty. About time. Been thinking about this for like 6 months, and now we're here. Big question: what's Buds Aplenty? That's a really good question because really I don't even know. Okay. It's just more or less is the talk show where I bring my friends on and we just talk about like what they want. So, introducing what's appropriate, the first guest, Mr. Avery Proseidon Thompson. How you doing?
I'm doing good today. And yourself?
Yeah, pretty good. Had some good food. Saw some family. You know, hard to complain about this nice Saturday.
Right on.
Enjoying some. By the way, as you can see by the logo, enjoying some Tow Yard Horsepower, the beer chosen by Mr. Avery Thompson.
Delicious.
Mm-hmm. We're big fans of local beer.
Yep,
you
absolutely.
And I. How long we've been on the Growler game for about a year? Is that
probably more than that? Because it all started with Upland.
Well, we got them last year for my graduation party, the secret.
Okay.
Where I bought all 4 of them.
Yeah.
And had a good time there. But yeah, that was like the first time we really got into growlers.
Yeah, we've been into local beers before that though.
Yeah, but like that was the first time we were on the growler, like the growler life.
Yeah.
What do you like about Tow Yard's beer? Especially Horsepower.
Horsepower is my favorite. It's a double IPA, but you would think it would be extremely bitter. Instead, it's actually super malty and a super full flavored beer. Mm-hmm. I'm not a fan at all of blonde ales or light beers because they just taste watery almost. I want something with flavor. So the double IPA just has everything.
Mm-hmm. And even whenever you look at like a double IPA or an IPA even, it's almost like a black beer. You think of like a Guinness if you're going to think of it in domestic sense. This is like, you honestly can see the color. It's almost like an amber,
right.
Like a brownish gold. And it doesn't have like that. It doesn't have the taste of an IPA really, but it's so full and it's a super.
It's my
solid
favorite. It's my favorite indie beer.
So, the big thing that I think we should talk about with you is moving.
Yeah.
So how did this even come about? Because me and Nick were talking on TeamSpeak and it was just like, oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you I'm moving to Orlando.
Yeah. So, dating a Puerto Rican, she is not a fan of the winters.
Of course, yeah.
So
as we both know about her.
Yeah. So we had to make a move, and I figured, why not Orlando? Yeah.
Big change.
Yeah.
Especially for you, Mr. I sweat profusely and hate the heat.
I'll probably lose about 50 pounds of water weight.
it'll be like I'll come in and you're like, hey Dale, and you're still profusely sweating, but you're like my like body structure. So what's the hunt looking like for houses? You showed me your
yeah, we got a house.
Okay, so, it's all set?
Yep.
Oh, good.
So the house is set, picking internet speeds.
That's the big
thing right now. Yeah, I'm applying to a couple different places, and it's like right in it's like a pretty powerful part of Orlando, I guess. It's kind of like your Broad Ripple in the sense that like you have a lot of opportunities there. So
awesome.
The place we found is pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be 45 minutes from Cocoa Beach in one direction and an hour and 15 maybe from St. Pete in the other direction. So
really can't complain.
No.
How close are you to her family? Because that was probably pretty.
Yeah,
big
her family's going to be about 20-30 minutes away. I mean, traffic depending, of course.
Yeah, but that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's good for her.
And we're on the opposite side of the city from Disney and Orlando and like all of the big theme parks. So that's pretty exciting too.
Yeah,
we don't have to deal with all that traffic.
I still can't believe whenever you told me, it doesn't even like click that you're going to be down there.
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 weeks maybe.
Oh gosh,
probably more than that. I'll probably wait till towards the end of June, but it's going to be available for the 15th, so that's pretty exciting.
That is exciting.
Yeah.
So with it being Buds Aplenty, I'm not the focus. He's the focus. So I'm going to leave it to you. What do you want to talk about?
So let's just nerd out straight from the beginning, dive straight into Blizzard games. My favorite game producers and creators, Blizzard Entertainment.
So what was your first Blizzard game?
So actually, Tom and Anthony Cyphers. They got me to try out Diablo 1 back in the day. And yeah, because they were both playing it together. And I actually dove into it with them and had a blast. Diablo 2 was either out or came out shortly after I tried that. So then I jumped into Diablo 2. That was the first game I went really like hardcore on. I ended up climbing into the top 100 bracket in the world at one point with a druid.
Very appropriate for you in Blizzard games.
So that was the first game I really got hardcore into PC gaming. So that was an exciting moment.
It's funny that nowadays, like, that's how I got into gaming, was like my parents pushed me into it, and now like hearing that Tom got Anthony into Diablo, that's even hilarious.
And then I think Gunnar and Tim both played Diablo 1 as well. So it was kind of a fun little, like, both of my good friends at the time and their dads played it together, so it was like easy to kind of jump straight into it. So that's, Diablo series is where it all started. And then, like I said, jumping into Diablo 2 went really hardcore. I never really got too into the strategy games, so Blizzard offers their Epic StarCraft series and their Warcraft strategy series, but then they converted into World of Warcraft. I finally convinced old Ange to let me jump into that when I was in about 8th grade.
Same.
Got very hardcore into that one as well, and still play World of Warcraft to this day. Down Mythic Archimond a couple weeks ago. That's fun.
Which, for those who don't know, which a lot of you don't know because many of us don't play WoW anymore, Mythic Archimond is basically the final boss of WoW?
The final boss of this expansion.
Wow.
So, the hardest, and then they have a tier setup of difficulties, so it'll go, you've got your LFR, which is looking for raid, and kind of just piles people in so that they can do it. It offers the lowest rewards. You've got your normal, your heroic, and then mythic, which is like a set number of players at a very, very high caliber of punishing mechanics.
Okay.
And so all the fights have all of the mechanics added on the previous ones, but then they added even more, and it's even harder. So pretty excited. We finally finished out an expansion. I don't do that very often.
I don't think you ever. You said you never had, right? Is that correct?
I normally end up killing the last boss, like Pandaria and all the other ones that have came before it. I end up killing the last boss, Deathwing, all of those, but I've never fully went through the whole thing while it was still progression. I normally came back at the very end when everyone's doing it because it's easy.
Yeah.
And so I finally finished out my first full expansion. It felt pretty good.
Yeah, and you know, you're talking to a guy who never got to that point. I never even rated.
Right.
I mean, you and I back in college, we would do the free trials.
Yeah.
And then we would just play that for a month, get to my max level, and I'd be like, "Yep, done for a while." And
right.
Like, let's do it again. So now you're leaving WoW a little bit since you've got that.
My guild's been able to tailor it down to where we only raid on Tuesdays, do the farm bosses, well, not farm bosses, but we do our Archimond and like a couple of different bosses that'll drop mounts, because as soon as Legion comes in August, then those mounts change from 100% drop rate to like a 1 or 0.1% drop rate. So right now it's a guaranteed, so we're trying to get everyone in our group
ready for Legion to be cool.
Yeah.
Because just having mounts isn't like...
It's all vanity, but it's also something where if you play a game that you invest a lot of time in, why not have something that looks cool?
Yeah.
So
you mentioned Legion. How do you describe Legion as like someone who maybe like understands WoW a little bit? Maybe
okay, so the way World of Warcraft has really worked up to this point is they just keep taking what currently exists and just piling more stuff onto it.
Yeah.
So the further the game gets, then the more complicated it would get. And so we came into Mist of Pandaria, which is the previous expansion, and the way that they did is they just started cutting stuff out and trying to condense it to make it easier to jump into for new players, because it had kind of like your Dota 2 style setup to where it had such a steep learning curve, and your EVE Online, your different things like that had such a steep learning curve that new people are trying to jump in, and at that point it's really hard to jump in. So Pandaria really cut down on that, and so they started taking away abilities and things that have been fundamental to what you've played. And a lot of players didn't like that. So going into Draenor, they did the same thing. They just kind of cut down some of the abilities, made it really, really simple to an extent. Like, you obviously can min-max and excel over other people based on how you understand it. But is what they're doing in Legion is actually going back and completely redesigning everything.
Okay.
So they realize that they've gotten to a point that's too far and taking away some of like your class lore, and they want to add that back in. And so like a lot of the way that the classes are going to work is going to be based on how it should have worked from the beginning.
Okay.
So like just to give you an example, you've got your hunter class.
Yeah.
Well, currently the best way to play a hunter is without a pet.
Which is strange because that's what makes the hunter unique.
So is what they've done is they've actually went back and made it to where you're controlling multiple beasts at a time. And so it makes it to where your class is actually true to its lore. So a hunter without a pet, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense in Blizzard terms. So we're finally getting to a part where your demonology is actually going to have like multiple pets. I mean, you're summoning like legions of demons, and your hunters are actually having beasts and different things like that, to where your class is actually true to its lore, which is really like a cool thing. Assuming they pull it off, it will be really enjoyable, but it could be a total flop, and then we have a long period where they're trying to just fix everything to even make it work.
And we've seen that before.
We have.
Not just in that, but also in the other game we're also interested in is Heroes.
Right.
Heroes of the Storm, HOTS, whatever you want to call it. It's a MOBA, very similar to Dota, very similar to League of Legends, to connect the dots with games that people may be more familiar with, where they introduce a new character and they're broken. They are...
Well, is the thing with Heroes releases is they had a brief stint where Heroes were way too underpowered. So like your Rexar when he was first dropped, your Morales when she was first dropped, Lunara. So they had a long stretch of really, really poor releases that needed to get buffs to even be viable.
But then they also had the stretch where you go back to the Diablo stretch where they had Butcher, who was like, he dominated in the meta for that first week, and then everyone figured him out. Leoric, who was broken for a long time. Joanna, who was still broken because she is one of the only pure tanks.
So they have a kind of a wave pattern where you've got your extremely overpowered, your underpowered, then you end up with heroes like Li Ming and Greymane when he was first released and all of those, and then you dip down into your Lunaras and all of those. We finally got one that is actually the worst release to date, and that is Chromie, released this past week.
Which, so you want to give us some background on what Chromie is? Chromie is such an odd hero. Whenever I first saw her announced, I was like, who is this? So
an interesting thing about Heroes of the Storm actually is that all of the characters are in this game are based off of characters in other Blizzard games. So is what they did is they brought Chromie of the Bronze Dragonflight from World of Warcraft. They brought her over into Heroes of the Storm. And the reason she has such a low win rate is because all the heroes up to this point have been almost instant cast heroes. So like you've got your Novas and different things like that, to where if I'm going to skill shot, which is where I have to aim a projectile at you, then it's instant. But the way Chromie works is all based on like a lagged out time. So you have an ability that takes a second to even cast, and then it has to move.
Travel,
And then you have another one that takes a second and a half to cast, and it hits in a small radius that you've planted a second and a half earlier. So it's all about prediction, which in a game like Heroes where there's constant movement, prediction for a lot of people is really, really hard. So she has... I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. She
has huge potentials, but it's all based on read. It's like it's like a character to Harper to Melee. I can't believe I'm going to bring a Melee in this. Melee, you have characters like Captain Falcon who like dominate off the read, but if they can't get a read, they struggle in the neutral game. They struggle in getting hits. They get comboed really hard. So they have those large weaknesses. But if you're a player who can like make reads on like the predictability of people, where you think they'll go, where like like with Chromie, if you know that there's only one route for them to escape, you can make the read that that's gonna be where I'm gonna toss this orb.
Right, and so I guess my rant with Chromie, more or less, is what I was telling you earlier, is that Chromie's issues all revolve around being based off of your team. So in a game like Heroes of the Storm, you have heroes that can actually carry the entire game. So like your Thralls and your Kael'thuses and different heroes like that have all the abilities in their kit to be able to actually set up everything for your team.
Yeah.
So Chromie, on the other hand, requires the other, like your team, to set up everything for you. And in a game, unless you're playing with people in voice chat or people you know how to play the game,
or even people in person,
right? So you're getting thrown in with 4 other people who you're counting on to make plays for you, like and setups for you. And I think that's where her biggest struggle is, because if I get tossed in with 4 other mages, they're just going to focus me because I have no health.
And it's the same with, like, on the flip side, you can quick match where you're like, you just go by yourself, solo quick match. You can go a hero like Zagara, who can solo in a single lane by herself and doesn't have to worry about the support of another team. Whereas, like, and having you on the team just in general makes that team better because you have good crowd control,
right.
You have good laning, you have good sieging. That's just like an overall hero that's good with any comp, especially in solo queue.
So her 30% win rate is reflective of both players needing to learn positioning and skill shotting, along with a low health pool and a desire for a proper team composition.
We saw that in the game we played. Our Chromie was just always out of position because, like, you think of a hero like Li Ming. We were talking about other mages. Li Ming has great mobility, great damage, so you can kind of be a little bit more reckless in how you position yourself because you can just pour it out because you have mobility. Chromie has no mobility.
She has nothing. So it makes it kind of a struggle when you're not playing in competitive level play. For heroes like that, it was the same issue with Tracer. Like, Tracer is an amazing hero, even after her nerfs. Amazing hero, but unless you have a team to set up, she can get punished pretty easily because of how the whole game flow works.
And we were talking about just Blizzard games in general and how they have this, like, huge rapport of just, like, making great games. Just around the corner we have Overwatch. Overwatch, the beta went
comes out Monday, actually.
Comes out, there we go.
Yeah.
Comes out the day this episode airs.
Yeah.
So, Overwatch is our first-person shooter. Plays a little bit like a MOBA because, like, you can. It's based on hero comp, and
I would also compare it quite significantly to like Team Fortress. Yeah.
So because you have like different roles that the heroes per se are, and their animations for it were amazing. You remember when the trailer dropped and like they were in that museum and they have this new trailer with the dragons?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's a really, really fun game. I've never.
You haven't actually played it?
Oh, I bought it. I own the game.
Did you get into beta?
Yeah.
Oh,
I got into early beta too.
Oh, okay. Well,
so it's a super, super fun game. I haven't played it enough to really like be like, this game's amazing, and I'm not good enough yet to say that this game's amazing. I've never really played that style game. So we
never got into shooters really unless you count like back when you and me were into Modern Warfare 2
and Borderlands.
But Borderlands is a totally different monster from those because it's more of like a role-playing game. Whereas like,
I think that's why that one caught my attention so much.
Because you're a big role-playing guy. I mean, you look at WoW. You played
Guild Wars.
You played the Final Fantasies on the DS, right? You had those. So like those all caught your attention. So it's like, of course you're going to go to the shooter that's an RPG.
Right.
So I think now that we've covered the masses of Blizzard games, I think you and I both came up with lists of like what our top 3 Blizzard games are.
Okay.
You've got a list, right?
I don't.
You're gonna freak. I have mine ready. Mine was easy because I only did 3 games because I've only played 3 Blizzard games. Well, I played a little bit of another one, but I'll get into that later.
So we'll just go over a quick overview of Blizzard games really quick.
That'll help the people who don't know Blizzard near as much as we do.
So you've got Warcraft 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
All of their expansions respectively, but we're just going to consider it Warcraft 1, 2, and 3.
Side note, the movie Warcraft that comes out next month is based on the first game, so that'll kind of like help you in understanding the movie when it comes out.
So you've got the original Warcraft strategy games. Jump into World of Warcraft. You've got Diablo 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
3 was is the newest in the series. Came out in 2014, maybe?
14 or 13, and it was the only one to come to consoles as well.
Yep.
Different style because it used dual stick, whereas like the console or the PC ones always use like the keyboard to move around, and then you use your abilities on your keyboard.
Yeah, and then so you've got the Warcraft series, the Diablo series. We've got Overwatch, which we just covered on. Heroes of the Storm, which we just covered on. They've also got a card game, Hearthstone, which is a ton of fun.
Based on the WoW universe, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
And then the last one would be their StarCraft series, which is epic. They also released 3 games back when they were starting up. They have the Lost Vikings, which is like a puzzle-style game where you use the 3 Vikings to go through a map, and there's different obstacles and different things in your way, and you use them, the 3 of them as a group, to be able to solve these puzzles.
And each of them have a different ability. One of them uses a shield, one of them can jump, and the other can attack. So they have different like abilities, and it's like a 2D platformer, so kind of think of like Mario, but it's more like you have to think about how using each of those Vikings can get you to the end of the level.
And then the 2 that I actually haven't played is Rock and Roll Racing, which is your combat style racing, your Mario Karts and Blurs and things like that, where you're racing, but you also are destroying each other.
I actually have played it.
Okay.
I had it for the Super Nintendo, or I have one of the other racing style games. It comes at a third isometric angle, so it looks down, kind of at a 45-degree angle. And you had to drive, and the track, instead of it being like a straight square, it was like a diamond. So you would like, whenever you would drive, it would be a diagonal all your turns. It was cool. A lot of it was just monster trucks. It was just a simple racing game that pushed the limits of what the consoles and the PCs at the time could do.
Okay, and then the last one's Blackthorn, which is a platformer, but I don't think either of us have played that one.
No, it was like a Contra-style platformer, too. So, like, I had never even heard of it. You looked up the list, and I was like, what in the world is that?
Yeah. So, based off, you said top 3?
You can do top 5 because you've played pretty much every Blizzard game other than those 3. I've only played 3 or 4.
All right, you go ahead and go for this.
I'd only played like the first 2 levels of Diablo, so that's right there. And I've played StarCraft. I had StarCraft and played about halfway through the original StarCraft. It was great, and I sucked at RTS games, real-time strategy games. I've just been terrible at unit management, and compared to like Gunnar Kennedy, he is, that's what he thrives on. He's great at unit management. He's great. He was always good at StarCraft. That's what he played a lot. So my number 3 is Warcraft 3.
Okay.
I thought Warcraft 3 had an amazing story built on like, especially Arthas. Like you go through the human saga, and it talks about Arthas and like hopefully
best villain in the game.
Best villain in the game. Well,
he's my favorite villain.
I mean, he's my favorite too, but Illidan's
second. Like it's a close second, but the way Arthas is portrayed, he is just... I
mean, and you go through, like, the... what's the city that he takes down? Where he's still a human. He's a human prince. And so, basically, he goes to the city, and all the humans in the city are... Stratham. So, it's... all the humans in the city are plagued, so he just wipes them all out. And he's justifying it because it's going to, like, save him in the war versus the undead. And then he wants to, like, he takes Frostmourne, and Frostmourne he thinks he'll be able to control it. And I've always, like, had the theory that flawed heroes make for great heroes, and then in turn it also makes for, like, those origin stories make for great villains. And so, like, Arthas is amazing. And even just the human saga in Warcraft 3, you get to play as Arthas and Uther, and you'll see, like, where Uther's like, hey, you don't need to do this. If you do this, you're damning yourself.
Right.
And Arthas is like, nah, I got this. I'm a badass. I can do whatever I want.
Right.
And then next thing you know, he's the Lich King and the final boss of World of Warcraft.
Right. He was the final boss. One of the more challenging bosses, actually.
That's what I've seen. Like I usually do, I spend my time on YouTube in the mornings. That's my reading the newspaper. And I saw a top 10 like unfair WoW bosses, and he was like number 2.
He was awful. He was awful. I've died to him in the past year, and he was a boss from level 80. We're 100 now, and I've still died to him in the past year.
Just because of his mechanics?
Yeah, his mechanics and the way they work. Like, up to this point, as far as like the World of Warcraft series, as soon as a new expansion releases, you're pretty much able to go and clear all the old content. That's not a flawed design. That's more or less Blizzard like, yeah, you can do it by yourself, so you don't have to worry about a group anymore. You can still enjoy it. And
then you're able to get, like, you love the transmog thing,
right.
So you're able to get the old items and use those items to change your new items to look like those. So it's cool like that.
Yeah, so he has all the other bosses, you can pretty much just go in there, blow all your cooldowns, and they're dead. And so Arthas, though, he has a mechanic to where he doesn't die. He stays at 1% for a little bit, and he has this mechanic to where he'll put a ground effect, and if you're not paying attention, which the time I died was the first time I had went in a long time, and I wasn't paying attention. I'm just sitting there hitting him, kind of whatever, and he put this ground effect, and it blew me off the entire platform, and I just fell to death. And I was like, well, okay, I forgot about that one. But, yeah.
So, leading into Warcraft 3, talking about Arthas, my second favorite game is easily WoW. We put so much time into it. I mean, you look at high school. You remember the bet you made with me where I stayed home one day and you're like, I bet you won't get to level 30. You remember that?
Yeah.
I don't remember what the wages were, but it was just 3 levels, and I was like so worried because I sucked. I sucked at leveling. I was awful in those early days. But like playing through it the first time, it's just so cool. Like the especially like the vanilla zones, like Stranglethorn. Even the starting zones are cool. Like I think like what's the dwarf starting zone?
Oh, what is that called?
Where Ironforge is.
Yeah. I can't think of the name on the map right at the moment. It'll come to me in a minute.
Yeah, we'll save that. But like those zones are just so cool. And then you look at the vanilla instances like Scarlet Monastery. We went through Scarlet Monastery so many times.
Back when it was actually 4 wings and
it was cool, and you had to have the keys to get into it. Oh, it was so cool.
That also brings up another topic real quick while you're in the middle of your list is the demand for Blizzard to release vanilla servers.
Yeah.
Which has been a pretty big hot button issue for a lot of gamers.
Because they just disbanded that
Nostrius or something to that effect.
It was was it a free to play server?
Yeah, it was a private server, which essentially it does violate Blizzard's terms of service. But they had a massive amount of people that played on these servers because it reverted World of Warcraft back to its glory days.
So basically, like in Cataclysm, they made it to where Deathwing blew fire over everything and destroyed everything. It made everything different. Like you look at the Barrens where they put the giant
divide,
giant divide. So that was like a huge one. But then like there was other things that happened that Deathwing did. He just basically just like blew fire and everything. Everything became bad.
There was an achievement. Actually, Deathwing would randomly fly around like you never knew where he was going to be. But if you were you had to be in the continent, in the zone to where he appeared. And he would breathe fire across the entire zone while you were there. And there was actually an achievement for running into it and dying. Which was kind of funny, actually, because it was semi-challenging to get this achievement. Whereas, like, somebody could just be running around on a level 1 character and just get murdered.
And then they only have that achievement on that character.
And so it was kind of a funny, like, luck of the draw achievement that a lot of people got really frustrated at because in the beginning it was really hard to get. So that's kind of one of those fun things, though, that Blizzard does.
So, I mean, vanilla, we got into BC. That was
Burning Crusade.
And Burning Crusade was amazing.
It is still to this day my favorite expansion.
Probably mine. I mean, I look at it. After that was Wrath, and I didn't play the Wrath content. I only did the Wrath dungeons.
Wrath of the Lich King is the second released expansion of World of Warcraft, and it's based off Arthas, who we were talking about earlier. And it's the first expansion that released a hero class, so that was a lot of fun with the Death Knight.
But from what I remember, Death Knights were kind of broken.
Oh, they were so overpowered. It was ridiculous. And so they had to tone them down a little bit, but that was the first time that Blizzard had been like, okay, with an expansion, we're actually going to bring a new class so you guys aren't getting bored with what's available.
Well, on the other hand, you had it to where, like in or Burning Crusade brought the Draenei and the
races, but
Blood Elves. But then you could also, like, for those, you could play as a shaman with the Alliance for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Used to, that was like an exclusive thing to the faction,
and then Paladin to the Alliance,
which was cool. I mean, like in vanilla, like having those exclusive factions, that's kind of genius. Like making it to where, like, I'm gonna play Horde because that's the only way I'm gonna play a shaman.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a cool concept. But then when BC brought it around to where, like, just those races could be those classes, that's cool. So that was a cool thing, but now it's like even dwarves can be shamans. So it's like that's odd.
Yeah, it's more or less like we've gotten to the point in World of Warcraft where, like I said, we've gotten so far away from lore and more or less to getting to a spot of playability where everyone wants to be able to play whatever class they want on whatever race they want, which to an extent, with it being the style of game it is, makes sense because I'm investing so much time. I want to look a certain way. Yeah, like that makes sense to me, and it makes sense to Blizzard that they're going to get the money from the faction changes or the race changes. So why would you not offer them?
Of course.
But so dwarfs can be shamans, and you've got Taurens can be priests, and like just kind of they've added in a lot of different things. But I think it's personally for the greater good. More or less, like, yeah, we do break away from class lore a little bit, but if I'm investing as much time as I am into World of Warcraft, I want to be able to look a certain way and do certain things.
It also balances it out because you look like at the high game, some things like racials can kind of shift the focus of how team comps are for, what's it called? Arenas.
Like, if you look at the PvP ladders, like, out of the top 200, something like at least... This is off the top of my head, a rough guess. I would guess like 70% are humans because their racial is so broken for player versus player combat that, like, it doesn't make sense for you not to play that.
Refresh me. What is their racial?
Essentially is how PvP works is one of the slots that you can fill on your character is a trinket slot. And what the PvP trinket does is you use it if you get crowd controlled. So you get Warlock feared, or you get stunned, or something else. Polymorphed. You can use this trinket, and it's a get out of jail free card. And so they added that as a human racial, so you can stack damage trinkets. And this is just a skill you already have.
Okay.
So you essentially are, instead of wasting a slot on your inventory, on your characters
to stop crowd control, you use the racial.
So then you're doing more damage than everyone. Well,
gotcha.
Okay, well suddenly why would I play this race when I can do this?
Yeah. And
get more out of what I'm wanting to do. And so it's still kind of a controversial topic.
Unbalanced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because pretty much if you want to win, you play Alliance. And if you and similarly though, they made the compromise to where if you want to do high end raiding for the most part, then you're going to play Horde because their racials for the most part are significantly better, and so they're kind of finally going back and rebalancing all of those to where
is that in Legion? Well,
not so much. They've started to do it for Warlords where like now dwarves and Taurens have like the same innate abilities, but like their class still does a little bit different, but their innate abilities are pretty similar now.
Gotcha.
As far as a race goes.
So what do you think the solution is, back to like the initial topic that got us to this point, vanilla servers? Do you think that's a thing that Blizzard's going to come to? It's
one of those though where if all Blizzard has to do is release a couple of these servers and then make you rebuy the game. Yeah. Suddenly Blizzard makes a ton of money, so they're not losing out. People pay the $40-$50 to get on this server and resubscribe. So Blizzard's numbers as far as subscribers for World of Warcraft goes have not stopped dropping. They're still getting lower and lower because the game's lack of content ultimately is what does that. But if we just go back, like if they start releasing these servers and just make you rebuy the game, they're not losing out. They're still getting their money, and at the same time, it allows the player to play the game they want to play.
And people love nostalgia. Mm-hmm. People love to be able to like go back and enjoy like how it was, where like Onyxia was like one of the final bosses.
And just as like a quick little overview though, like if I want to go play the original Crash Bandicoot, is all I have to do is pull it out and put it in my PlayStation, and suddenly I'm playing that game.
Great comparison.
Whereas in Blizzard standards, if Crash Bandicoot built upon itself and suddenly I have to play the most recent Crash Bandicoot no matter if I want to play it or not, that's all that's available, well then that kind of hits home, like, well, I don't want to play this game, but I want to play what it used to be.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, I understand where people are coming from. Like, I like the progression aspect of WoW, where I'm striving for leaderboards and I'm trying to get my name on Warcraft logs. Like, I checked on Illidan, actually, which is the #1 server in the United States, and I'm the #9 enhancement shaman on the entire server. So like,
pretty big accomplishment.
Yeah, so like that, I got really pumped when I saw that. Like, I'm super excited about that. But at the same time, that's because I like pushing content more so than like a lot of the people who just want to play it strictly for a story. And so I understand both sides of it very, very easily, and kind of where they're coming from. If all Blizzard has to do is just publish the original code on some separate servers, like you've got your American and European servers broke up, why not just add a few vanilla servers, and then maybe down the road if you want to add BC servers and Wrath servers, like you can do that and people will be happy.
People would love that.
Yeah.
But I also think on the contrary, that's also
it's a lot more work.
It's a lot more work, and that's a testament to what today's gaming is. Mm-hmm. You can't go back and, like, for example, with HOTS, you can't go back to vanilla HOTS where there was only like 20-some heroes, and like you can't go back to having unbalanced heroes like KT back when KT was first released.
Stitches.
Back when Stitches was still boss, and then he went through that mega nerf. We remember the nerf when we first started the game, and all the tanks just were terrible, like Diablo
they were
ETC awful. And Stitches. Those three were horrible. Yeah, it was awful. And so like we can't go back to that time period when like all three of those were awful. We can never see that game again.
Right.
And that's just a testament to like what patches do. Unless you're willing to like not download the patch,
but then you can't.
Then you can't play because it's all online. So I mean
that I guess that more or less brings up one other issue before we get back to our original topic. Our top 3 Blizzard games is I do hate the fact that a lot of games now don't even offer an offline or a single player version. Like Diablo, for example, in 1 and 2, you could go play a single player campaign. So you don't have internet, or you're on the road, or kind of whatever you're doing. If you just want to hop on and play a single player game, you used to be able to do that.
Yeah.
With the newest one, you have to be able to get online, have a stable enough connection to load, and like, so it kind of killed that aspect of the game.
And that was what happened with the new SimCity. Do you remember when that release came out? And like SimCity, like everyone was like, dude, SimCity is gonna be cool. And then they announced it was all online, and then like the servers couldn't last for like 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And it was like, it ruined it. Mm-hmm. People still talk about how bad that release was. And so like it's a testament to like online gaming dominates instead of the single player game or the couch multiplayer. You see a lot of games like the new Halo doesn't have couch multiplayer. Like how is that even possible? Halo used to be dominated by LAN parties where you just like hook up.
When we go over to Malloy or Caleb or anyone else's in our friend group and just set up a giant Halo party.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. But then like now that's just like today's gaming. It's all online. So
a lot of it doesn't bother me. I still wish that there was like kind of a single player aspect, and also like you said how bad SimCity's release was. Like Diablo 3's original release was one of the most horrific Blizzard examples.
Oh yeah, because they had the error.
You couldn't log in. It just would say like error 3 something.
And it would have some number, and everyone was like, I can't play.
You couldn't play, and then when you could play, some zones were broken, and they rushed out the content.
And then they had to get rid of the auction house as well, to where like people couldn't sell auction house things for real money, because then it became broken in that aspect. Like, at least I'll say there are like some games that are pushing the envelope for a single player game.
Right.
And you have that market still available.
But it's very slim.
It's very slim, and like it's a very niche thing. You have to be looking for like your single player role playing games. Even like the campaigns for shooters are super watered down, whereas like that used to be the main content for games like Doom and Wolfenstein 3D, the original shooters.
You look at like Call of Duty single player, and it's a joke.
Whereas like even whenever we played Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2, those had good good single players, and like no one buys COD for the single player.
No,
you buy it because you want to go play multiplayer.
Right.
So, as you tried to do, I told you going into this, I encouraged tangents.
Okay.
So, that was a huge one. That's a good way to start the series.
I'm very passionate about Blizzard games. That's kind of what I've played since, 6th grade, maybe?
6th, 7th grade. I mean,
early middle school, I've played...
How many times did you skip school because you wanted to play the new expansion?
I think only like 2 times.
You did it for Wrath and you did it for... Kata.
And then I was out of college by that point.
Yeah.
Or out of high school by that point.
Yeah. You did skip classes for Warlords, or not Warlords, Miss.
Oh, yeah, that was college.
You still skipped. I'm still implying that.
Warlords, when it dropped...
Were we still in college?
I think so. I don't remember.
Yeah, we had to have been, because you were playing whenever we were at 1201.
Was I playing Warlords, though, or was I playing Miss?
Well,
it would have been two years ago.
Yeah, because when Miss dropped, you were living on campus. We were both living on campus.
So I probably skipped that day, too.
Yeah, okay. My favorite Blizzard game is HOTS. I never got into MOBAs. I played League whenever I was a freshman. Very lightly. I only played one hero, and he was a pirate. It was so much fun. His heal, you would use... I don't even remember what his name was, but his heal, his trait was he had scurvy, and you had to use his trait to eat like a fruit, so you wouldn't get scurvy, and then you'd heal, and then you'd get your scurvy again.
Okay.
But I was never big into those, and then we got into HOTS because you were like, dude, play HOTS. I love Blizzard games. Play HOTS. And I was like, okay. And I played Raynor, and you remember how bad Raynor was when he first dropped.
Oh, man.
But I was good with Raynor.
Yeah.
Like, good back then.
He's the easiest hero in the game to play, so he's a good building block to play.
Yeah.
So especially for both of us who have never really played MOBAs up until Heroes of the Storm.
He was a good start.
Him and like your Muradins were a really, really good place to start. I started with
Zagara.
Yeah.
that was
Zagara and Zeratul, which are like two of the harder characters to play.
And I think it's cool because like we have a framework of like why we like Blizzard games. The lore in Warcraft is cool. Like we talked about Arthas. Arthas is cool. Illidan's cool.
Deathwing's not so intimidating. Still a cool hero, like a cool villain, but not as intimidating as the rest. Like, oh, it's just another big dragon.
Yeah. And then like the Diablo universe is cool. I don't understand it very well because I've never played the games. But you look at heroes like Leoric, the Butcher. I'm trying to think.
One more little tangent for you, real quick.
Here we go.
So, my internet actually went out Wednesday morning.
Okay.
So dealing with AT&T, the whole gig.
Everyone knows that problem.
Yeah.
One thing people can relate to: having problems with dealing with
internet survivors,
internet or tech or anything.
Yeah. So I'm dealing with them. They send me a new modem. It's not the problem. So finally, I get a technician over on Friday.
Okay.
So they're like, he'll be there between 8:30 and 12:30, and I was like, do I get to pick a time? And he's like, no, like they'll just be there in that 4-hour window. And I was like, well, I don't really know if I agree with that business model, but we'll go for it.
Yeah, you need your internet. You're not going to complain.
Yeah, so I call in the owner, my manager at work, and I'm like, hey, dealing with the internet, be there in a little bit. They're like, yeah, cool, no problem. So I'm sitting there waiting Waiting. About 12 o'clock, guy finally rolls up. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to get it fixed. He walks in, and he sees my keyboard. And so I have a keyboard that has like 16.8 million color options, and you can set it to do all kinds of different things. So I had it pulsing this like constant rainbow stream across it. And he looks at me, and he's like, what kind of keyboard's that? So I explained to him, I'm like, oh, it's the Corsair K95 RGB. And he was like, oh, okay, I almost bought that one, but I decided to go with the Razer Black Widow. And I was like, oh, okay, you game. And he's like, yeah.
I thought you were gonna say, no, I just needed some cool colors from a Microsoft Word document.
So he keeps going, and he's like, yeah, so I was like, well, he's just staring at me at this point, and I was like, so what do you play? And he's like, well, I actually stream. Okay, so I correct my question. So what do you stream? And he's like, well, I started out streaming Minecraft because that was the first game that I really got into. Like, it was fun. I could build anything I wanted to. It's just kind of a sandbox game. I liked it.
And people can watch it because it's like a casual thing. He's just doing his thing, and people are like, oh, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, so he's like, I really liked it. He's like, and then I get a call from one of my buddies. Mind you, this guy's like mid-40s, does not look like a gamer at all.
Okay.
So I'm kind of shocked by what's transpiring before me. So he starts going on. He's like, so my buddy calls me one day, and he's like, man, you got to try out Diablo 3. It's about to drop. And so he's like, so I pick it up, and I start going really hard into it, and like I'm just having the time of my life. I start streaming it. And so he goes on, I kid you not, a 30-minute tangent. He stopped looking at the internet at this point. He's just looking at me, explaining to me during this tangent about season... Okay, so when Diablo 3 was first released...
We're making a tangent out of a tangent.
Yes.
Okay.
When Diablo 3 was released, it just had normal play.
Yeah.
Like, so your character is just never ending. So then they decided they wanted to spice it up and make seasonal heroes. So you build a new hero... and you level it and you gear it, and there's new different little perks and different things that can happen during a season. So we're up to season 5 currently. We just released a couple weeks ago. And he starts going on a tangent for about 30 minutes explaining to me how to gear a wizard in season 5 based on the talents that I choose and the way that I set up my team comp. And I'm listening because I understand Diablo, but at the same time,
you have to be at work.
Yeah, and 30 minutes into how to gear a wizard based on which talents I want to use. So he goes through this whole thing, he's explaining it, and he just kept getting deeper and deeper, and I was like, all right, man, well, I gotta get to work, so
how's my internet?
How's it going? He's like, oh yeah, I forgot, I gotta go to the Crossbox. So he leaves, has to go do some other stuff. Anna thankfully was home at that point, and I could go to work because she got home from work at that point. But it was an interesting little adventure.
Sometimes I hate people. It's fun whenever you get on your...
I enjoyed it.
Oh, of course you did. It's fun whenever you get on your tangents, like at work. Like today, I talked to a guy about his car for a good 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to help any other people coming up to the desk. I talked to a guy about cars for a good while, and then we talked about other things. But like, when you're on a time frame and you're the customer, and when the worker is talking to you for half an hour, that's a totally different experience. That's like going out to eat, and like instead of like the waiter taking your order, he's like, so yeah, I went to the monster truck rally.
Right.
And Gravedigger, he just ran 10 laps and tells you everything about those 10 laps.
And like, you're sitting there 30 minutes later, like, I still have no food.
Yeah. I haven't even placed my order. Yeah. Where's my drinks?
So that was an interesting ordeal for sure.
Heroes of the Storm. Heroes of the Storm. I like it. Different from League because it has different maps. Mm-hmm. That's a huge one. Very cooperative. Doing objectives, you and I both know, like, help the objective, do the objective, and like people just like don't understand that.
So there's 3 types of people in Hero of the Storm. There's the people who don't know to do objectives. There's the people who think that you do an objective way too long, and there's the people who know when to give up an objective and when to push one.
But there's also on the fourth side, there's the people who do camps whenever objective starts.
Man, oh, that happened to me today. Actually, that was fun.
Where people just like go.
He died to the camp.
Who was he playing?
I think it was a Tychus. He tried to solo boss, killed him. So yeah.
So people just don't understand the game, but that can be a good thing and a bad thing because the good thing is whenever you get people who understand the game and understand I'm going to objective, I'm going to camp, I know when to take boss, I know that all the heroes on the other team are down on for 60 seconds. I'm going to go attack their base. Like when you get smart players who know the game and you have synergy with them, then it's a great time. And then there's times whenever you're playing with hate to throw Illidan players under the bus, but when you play with that Illidan who wants the solo lane and go solo a mercenary camp instead of do the objective, that can be frustrating.
Yeah.
So there's a big push and pull of how much you enjoy the game.
Like I was explaining to Anna, I don't so much care if I lose. That's not necessarily my issue a lot of the time.
No.
But I had a game the other day, yesterday actually, and it just it was one of those to where it actually makes you angry. So I started getting angry, and she was like, "Why are you mad?" So it's a Sky Temple, and so essentially what you do on Sky Temple is you hold down a certain position, and if you hold it down, then the temples start firing on the opponent. So we hold down 2 of 2. The temples start shooting. We get our last 5 shots. The core stops at 5%. The entire enemy team is dead. So I'm like, let's rush core in the game.
Let me guess. Do they take camps?
They went for boss. So I'm like, that's a really stupid decision. So me and this tracer break off, which partially is our fault because you should stick with your team regardless. But at the same time, it's really frustrating when the core's at 3% with no shield and we can just go take it.
Yeah.
So we start running in, and at that point only one had respawned. So if the entire team came with us, easy kill and core take.
Yeah.
So we start running in, it was a KT. Bad time. So it just happened to line up with Chromie and Tracer to where his gravity lapse grabs both of us.
So then
Chain bomb goes off, flame lapse, we're almost dead. He kills the Tracer, I'm running for my life. I ended up, he might have pyroed me, something bad happened. I died too. So then my team dies to the boss. They didn't even kill it. All 5 of us die, enemy rushes our core and wins.
lose. Yeah.
It was just one of those really, really frustrating moments where you're that was not fun because we should have won.
Yeah.
So it definitely has its times where quick match can set you onto an angry mood.
It's like for those people who play sports. You go out to the park and you want to play a 3-on-3 game of basketball.
You got some dude Chris Boschen from half court.
That's you. You the biggest.
I would never do that.
Look how big he is. He would get the ball, and instead of putting it in with a dunk, he would run out to the 3-point line and go, "Chris Bosch, I'm gonna shoot a 3 because I'm a big man who shoots 3s."
I would never do that.
And you would make You did that. We were at John Geheimer's house playing with Andy.
Yep.
And you were terrible that day. You made 1 shot out of 30.
No. I've never claimed to be good at basketball, though, for the record.
We used to play so much in high school.
It was fun, though, because none of us cared. That was what made it fun.
We would play at lunch, and it was just the best time because it would be you and me and William Trueblood and Bravo and Matt Stegeman, who was actually really good. And then you had Adam Larimore, the classic,
right,
and then K-Cup, Kyle Cup. Him and his shot, man, that's still legendary. I'll never forget how his shot formation. How did we get to basketball talking about heroes?
I'm not really sure, but we did.
Heroes.
Oh, Chris Bosch.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about pickup games.
Yeah. Quick match to pick up games to Chris Bosch to basketball
to K-Cup.
Yep.
So, Heroes is fun. great diversity of heroes because they're also familiar heroes.
Mm-hmm.
You look at heroes like Thrall. Thrall is one of the coolest heroes because he's been around since the first game. He'll be in the movie, and he's been all the way around to like now.
And he's a pivotal part in the World of Warcraft series. Like, he was there in Mists of Pandaria when you're fighting Garrosh. He's there in Warlords when you first land on your new home. Like,
he was the king of Orgrimmar for a while.
Like, so Thrall is a really, really pivotal and really cool hero that, like, when you go to play him in the game, like, it's
he's changed so much too. I mean, like, you look at his neutral skin to his master, and his master's like the shaman, and that's how he's changed in the game, and it's cool.
Yeah.
So, like, having like characters like Thrall, that's awesome. And then we mentioned Lost Vikings in the game. The Lost Vikings are in Heroes, and that's like a cool throwback.
Second highest level character.
Yeah, you're second highest. Like, and they're cool because they play kind of similar to how they do because you control each of the heroes like separately, or you can control them all at once. That's awesome. You have heroes like Abathur, my best hero, and my highest level hero, who is nothing like anything a MOBA has ever seen, where you like put little hats on people basically and like give them more abilities that you control, which is amazing. And then you can put mines across the entire map. You can teleport across the entire map. Has no health bar, has no mana to where he's like unlimited in his abilities. He's a mastermind in how you play him. And so, like, on a side note, speaking of tangents, I can't wait for the day that they decide to put a hero from Rock and Roll Racers.
Yeah.
Where they just put a truck in it.
It won't surprise me when they do it.
I hope.
The coolest thing about Heroes of the Storm that, like, has drawn me to the game, like, I hated MOBAs up until Heroes of the Storm, and the coolest thing is that they're not scared to push the boundaries. So you talked about your Abathur, where you're essentially assisting another hero without ever being there in body.
Yeah.
And so you've got the Lost Vikings. You're three different heroes in one. You've got Rexar, where you're controlling both his bear and him.
And the bear is like the health bar, and you're like the abilities.
And so, like, you've got that. You've got Towers of the Doom, where you can't even attack the core. It's all based on doing objectives to even win the game. You've got Cho'Gall, where it's two people and one hero. Like, Blizzard isn't scared to push the boundaries of MOBAs, and that's what makes this MOBA so fun to me.
And the levels are so different. I mean, you look at, like, you mentioned Towers of Doom. Towers of Doom is the first MOBA map where the forts can be revived based on like you taking them, and they change allegiances basically, which is amazing. You have Blackheart's Bay, which is like one of your least favorite maps.
I like the map a lot. It's just super frustrating to play that map.
And based on like destroying chests and destroying certain minions, you gain coins, and you turn those coins in, and they attack different enemy structures. You have, let's see, trying to think of the most normal.
Dragonshire is probably one of the more normalized maps, where you've got your 3 lanes, 2 objectives that you have to control at the same time to get the 3rd objective.
I mean, and even you look at like a map that's no longer in rotation, Cursed Mines, which was a cool map. It was
I hate that.
very unbalanced because it was just basically a rush to the core, but you had like the bottom part where you would go in the mines and like you had to collect skulls down there.
Super neat map.
Oh, it was
super frustrating.
Super frustrating. It was genius in its concept, and I hope it comes back.
I'm sure it will. It just needs to be redesigned to somehow, like I was telling you the other day when we were sitting in here playing Heroes, like it needs to have some way that, so when the golem spawns, it spawns going towards the lowest, the highest powered lane,
and it spawns where it dies.
Yeah, so currently it spawns where it dies, and that in itself is a lot of what makes it so broken of a map. Whereas if you look at like your Battlefield of Eternity, which is also a 2-lane map, it pushes on the one that has the side that has the most health. So then it gives the opposite team a chance to defend against it. Whereas Mines, if we somehow steamroll you, send one person down to get everything, clear out a lane, then suddenly the golem and everything's on your core and you lose. Like it's inevitable.
I mean, there was times when I won Mines in like 6 minutes.
Yeah, there was like a lot of games last 30 to 40 minutes at this point, and you would win a mines before you even hit like level 12. I won a game at level 11.
I think Nick and I won a game on like where we hit level 10.
Yeah, it's like 10 or 11. The other team's like 7 or 8, and you just steamroll in like 6 minutes. That's
not even fun.
That's not fun at all.
Yeah. So that needs fixed. But the game itself is just genius. It has, like, the heroes are cool.
And a big shout out to Dustin Browder. Like, so we've got a development manager, Dustin Browder, who is the most vocal and involved game developer, like, manager that I've ever seen before in my life. Like, he's active on Twitter, he's active on Reddit, he's active everywhere, Twitch.
Pays attention to
everything.
Like what people are saying, like complaints about matchmaking, complaints about this hero, complaints about why this hero sucks, and like says, oh, the team is working on rebalancing that, giving us insight instead of just like putting us in the dark and saying, here's the new stuff, I'm gonna go hide in a hole for a while and not say anything.
I mean, any day you can go through a Twitter feed and Dustin Browder's on there somewhere commenting back to someone, explaining some issue that's going on, explaining possible resolves, or just giving you the heads up like, we're trying to fix this. And that's something that's also really amazing that you don't see very often in gaming, that is really enjoyable. Like, I can't think of another game where you have someone as active as him. And so a big shout out to him for also helping to make Heroes of the Storm amazing.
I think you get it from people who are... You look at Caldor. Caldor's super involved in the scene, but he's not like employed by him. You get people in the Melee scene like D1 and Crimson Blur who like work for Twitch, and their job is to promote the Melee scene and connect the Smash scene to make it to where like they are a marketable market. You have people like those who are like advocates for making the scene better, but not like the game itself. You don't get like Nintendo necessarily saying, oh, here's the problems with this character in Smash, here's the problems with this certain update for one of their games that comes out. You don't have that. It's all outside forces working to better the people that are just outside of them, instead of Dustin, who is inside, making it better for the people outside.
Like like I said, big shout out to him. Tremendous, and definitely a big part of making Heroes what it is. Like, you tweet him something's wrong, he either is going to read it and relay it to the team, or he's actually going to actively respond to you and explain to you what the issue is or why he doesn't think it's an issue.
Yeah.
Like, the other day someone was complaining about something, and he said, like, I don't really remember what it was. We'll just assume it was Rexar's win rate. Oh, his win rate's too high, and he said, well, due to internal testing, he's getting played so little that the win percentage is actually not even statistically significant. Yeah, he might have the second highest in the game, but no one picks him, so why should we do anything else? And so he's like, I don't really see a problem there. He explains to you their thinking, so then you're not like constantly in your head like...
Doesn't leave you in the dark.
Right, and that's a tremendous thing coming out of a game developer. I guess we'll go back to our original topic from like 30 minutes ago of Blizzard top games.
It's been almost an hour since you brought this up.
So,
I'd love to hear your, like, because you've played all of them.
Okay, so
except for those three.
I've played pretty much every Blizzard game outside of the original Rock and Roll Racer and Blackthorn. And then
maybe the original 2 Warcrafts.
I played Warcraft 3, I didn't play 1 and 2, and I've dabbled in the StarCraft series, but that's not really my type of game.
Yeah.
So I've played them all, and like, undeniably, StarCraft, for example, has one of the best stories in gaming currently. Like,
and it's got great lore because it develops on, like, you look at Kerrigan, you look at Raynor, you look at what's the race that Zeratul is?
Protoss.
The Protoss are cool, and the Zerg are cool in their own way. Even the humans have some cool characters.
And so, like, my top 3 or kind of, I'll probably do top 5, but it's going to all be based off of my personal game preference. Like, undeniably, StarCraft's game and lore is amazing. Like, I've even been slowly picking up the games when they go on sales so that I can, like, go through and play them, even if it's on, like, easy, against the computer, because, like, the story is so amazing that it's hard to pass up on it. And so,
Did you pick up StarCraft 2?
I have StarCraft 2 and Wings of Liberty, I think. I'm still gonna Heart of the Storm, whatever the new one is currently on a 50% sale. I think I'm gonna pick it up.
The one about the Protoss.
Yeah,
I can't remember which one.
But like the story is amazing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make it into my top 5 because those aren't the games I like to play. But like undeniably amazing series.
And you can't serve it justice because one, you haven't played it, and two, it's not your style of the game.
Right.
And so, but we both acknowledge that there's like a deep lore, and you also have to look at the competitive scene. I mean, you look at like.
What other game do you know that is a national sport? StarCraft 2 is the national sport of South Korea. That to me speaks volume.
And it's a cool thing to watch. Like, I don't understand it, but like sometimes like you pop into a StarCraft stream and you're like, holy crap, this is cool.
Like I got into StarCraft 2 a while back actually. My first match, I am sitting there, I'm building as fast as I can. And so I decide I'm going to rush the other guy's base. I get him down. It's been so long, I don't really remember the exact amount, but like he had 1 health. So he had somehow designed to where his base flew.
Yeah.
Well, me not knowing that, I had designed all ground troops and filled up all my slots. So he flies over to this little island off the coast. And to where I can't reach him. I have almost the entire map covered with like troops ready to attack him. He goes air, nukes my core, and I lose. And that was the first and last game I played in quite some time. It was pretty frustrating. So StarCraft definitely is a cool game.
Doesn't make the list though.
But does not make the list just because of personal preference, not because it's lack of content or anything like that. It's amazing. So, I guess if we're going top 5...
We would go top 5 for you because it is your repertoire.
I have not played Overwatch enough to be able to put it in, and the actual game, it doesn't even release until Monday. So, yeah. I'm going to exclude Overwatch, even though it probably will get a spot on my list later in the month, or going into like June, July, later in the summer. It'll probably make it on my list.
Yeah.
I guess if I had to start at number 5... I would probably do... I'm going to have to say Hearthstone, probably. So, I've always been a fan of card games, as many of you know from our...
High school and college.
Yeah, from going hardcore Pokemon in the beginning to getting really, really deep into Yu-Gi-Oh!
You got really deep into Yu-Gi-Oh!
I've dabbled in Magic the Gathering with Nick, actually.
Yeah.
It's a fun game. It was a little bit too slow paced for me.
You're all about that, like
I like quick pace, just card games, just boom, boom, boom. And so Yu-Gi-Oh was a lot of fun for me. And then it's quite a money sink to be able to stay at the current level.
Yeah.
And so
even especially in Magic, where like cards go out of date,
right?
Based on like not based on like the game style changing and other cards getting better, but the fact that like every 2 years you have to like these cards are
it's out even shorter amount of time than that. It's
is
like
it?
Every year.
Yeah, so
every time a pack releases, then it knocks out a pack from like 3 or 4 packs ago, and you can't use cards from then back anymore.
So it makes those cards that you had, if you build up a deck, you could say like I'm going to build this deck up, and then like at some point it's going to be out of date. Whereas like in Yu-Gi-Oh, I can take the old decks I used to have. And like all our other friends had
ban list.
Yeah, besides ban list. Ban list may change that a little bit. Did you know they're making the extra deck? They're raising that 5 other cards.
I did not.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, yeah, I know. So like not the cards where you have like your synchros and stuff. Yeah, that goes to 5. That's
of the 20.
I think that was I think I saw the news that was going to 20.
Okay, so Hearthstone probably makes number 5 on my list. You've got a game that adds like a really, really cool dynamic to the card game world, where if I want to play a game of Hearthstone, I pull my phone out right now, quick match, and then they also did a similar thing to Magic. In the most recent patch, which dropped a couple weeks ago, they made it to where you can either play Standard, which is only like certain cards are allowed so that they can better balance the game, or you can play Wild. And then essentially Wild is going to be everything goes like a Yu-Gi-Oh outside of a ban list, and then your standard is going to be a Magic style game to where you're playing with current decks only, and so it's going to be a little bit more balanced, a little bit more fair.
That's what Hearthstone went to?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So they offer both of them.
Oh, that's nice.
And so that's really, really cool. They offer arena runs, which you design. Okay, so the way a Hearthstone deck works is you have 30 cards that essentially make up your deck. And then is what they do in an arena is they just give you 3 random chances, or like 3 random cards. You choose one of them, and you do that 30 times, and you make a deck. And you face someone else who's been doing this. And you do an arena run, which it's all based on RNG, whether you get the cards you need or not to make your deck viable. And it's also based on how you play. So it's a really, really fun aspect. They have tavern brawls every week, which is like they add a new dynamic. Like the one from this week, just to kind of give you an idea, was me and whoever I get paired with versus a boss on the map.
Okay.
And so he will be like on my opponent's side, and I have to attack into him, and then he'll switch to my side, and my opponent will attack into him, but he does abilities to keep us from winning. So if he kills one of us, we both lose. If we kill him, we both win. So they add like cool dynamics like that every week too.
Oh, it's really cool.
So it's all about teamwork in certain like tavern brawls, and
it's cool because that's like something you can't do like with an actual card game in something unless you like had like rules set. Like this is just a mechanic that's just programmed into it.
Right. And so like me and Anthony actually back in high school tried to get into the World of Warcraft trading card game, but it was kind of a tough one to get into because you needed a lot more than we were willing to get into.
And it was also a smaller scene compared to like Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh.
So it would have like raids and stuff like that. Well, Blizzard realized the potential of their card game, but the lack of what it offered, because like it was so hard to find other people to play against. Like it was just me and Anthony just repeatedly playing against each other with different decks, and it's like, well, okay, it's a fun game, but it doesn't offer the competitive scene we want.
Yeah.
So they essentially took a lot of what they have from their card game and put it in the Hearthstone. So they have single player raids, like I was talking about earlier, where I'm going through fighting bosses with certain decks.
They have instances. Like,
yeah, I go through full raids and like fight all the bosses in a card style, and like it's a lot of fun. And they offer a lot of different things and ideas from their card game into Hearthstone. So
which is cool.
I knew I would like it right away. I got into it in the beta, actually, and played really, really hardcore in the beginning.
Another Blizzard beta game you got into.
Yep. So I'm hoping I'm going to get into the WoW beta
for Legion.
Yeah.
It makes sense with you being as high of rank as you are.
I didn't get into the first wave. There's always the next wave. So.
Always the next one. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, so but back to Hearthstone, it's a really, really fun game just because of its ability to encompass the card game into a mobile setting. I can play it on my computer, my iPad, my phone, whatever I want, and it adds a multiplayer level that, like, with Yu-Gi-Oh! You had to use, like, Dueling Network and, like, different things that weren't, like, official sites, and you didn't actually gain anything from them. You're just kind of testing, and so I really like Hearthstone for that aspect. It's one of the few card games that you can play competitively from your phone or from this. Like, taking your lunch break, it's a quick Hearthstone game. It's fun. So that probably makes my top 5 right now.
Makes sense.
I'm going to stick it down at 5 because Blizzard's games are just amazing.
They've never honestly had a bad one other than, like, the Diablo 3 release.
Diablo 3 release was poor to phrase it nicely.
Phrase it as lightly as you could probably put it.
Yeah, so
poor. That's like the most general word you could use.
They're past. They've since Wrath, their World of Warcraft releases have kind of went downhill, but it is what it is. Number 4 on my list, I would have to go Diablo 3. I've actually sank a lot of time into Diablo 3. It's a really, really fun game for a limited amount of time, is the best way I know how to put it. The issues with Diablo is they have a set storyline, but the way you level up is like you do the storyline on normal. Okay, I'm level 40 now. Now I'm going to do the same exact story on a harder difficulty. All right, I beat that. Harder difficulty, and you're just doing the same thing over and over.
So it's repetitive in that aspect.
It's very, very repetitive. So,
but then we have friends like Shane and Blake and Caleb and Wells who have just dumped so many hours into Diablo just because, like, I think it's more like that's because it went to console and they played console. It was a couch multiplayer thing, so they were able to enjoy it that way.
So I guess
when they had the expansion.
Yeah, so I guess the reason that Diablo 3 kind of burnt out a little bit quicker than the past ones have is because I've done the repetitive scene so many times, and like me and Anthony played it together pretty significantly, and it's kind of so it's kind of fun because with the new expansion they offered a mode that wasn't so repetitive. That adventure mode where you go out and you do these random little things that it randomly picks on a map, and then once you do everything you get rewarded.
Cool.
And so me and him would be doing that and competing to see who can get the highest hero level or Paragon level, different things like that. So I guess the competitive aspect that me and him added for each other along with the new game setting made it a lot of fun to where we're just constantly playing, oh, he was on last night, all right, I gotta hit it hard today. And so it made it to where the game was a lot of fun. And I'd probably put Diablo 3 at number 4.
Makes sense.
Diablo 2, though, is number 3.
I'm surprised it's not higher, honestly, because like you dumped so many hours into Diablo 2.
I put an absurd amount of time into Diablo 2.
You said, what was the percentage you were in? Or like
I was in the top 100 in the world.
Yeah, which is, for Diablo 2, it was a huge game, too.
Yeah. I played quite a bit. So, Diablo 2 had the same... I guess woes of Diablo 3 where it's got a repetitive scene, but there were certain farming routes you could do to level faster.
Okay.
And so I played a lot of characters in Diablo 2 actually. The Bard, the Necromancer is still to this day one of my favorite characters. I didn't power level him that high, but he's what Zul's based off of in Heroes of the Storm. You had like an Amazon. You had the Assassin, which they added with the expansion, and the Druid, which they added with the expansion. So essentially is what the Druid could do in Diablo 2 is he had like 2 builds. Either one you could turn into like different man/animal counterparts.
The first thing I thought of was man bear pig.
You could turn into a man bear.
Okay.
Like you could be like man cat, like all this stuff, and it was kind of like it was just kind of a cool little. The first time they've done this in Diablo where you could shapeshift.
Yeah.
And so I went the Druid, but I went what was called a Twister build. And so is what you would do is you would have someone else in your party like gather everything up, and then I would just throw these tornadoes through and they would just rip everything apart because it was the way that I had my talent set up. I could spam down like a hallway and everything would die. And so like I would get these parties together, and like this is like probably a lot of 6th grade-ish. And so I'd get these parties together and I would just mass Twister through these hallways, and then I just kept power leveling. At that point, I wasn't really playing any other games. I hadn't gotten into any MMO RPGs at that point. I hadn't gotten into anything else. So I'm just going really, really hard on Diablo 2. Just still to this day, one of my favorite games. I went back and played it the other day. Like graphics make it a little bit hard to play at this point, but it's still a lot of fun.
Do you think it ages well? Just like
no.
Okay.
It does not.
Okay.
Because
why not?
It's I don't know. It's one of those to where like while old games, a lot of them hold their stories, and that's what makes them like have the nostalgic aspect where like I can go back and play Crash Bandicoot. That one more so because I was deeply into it as a kid.
And you also look like the old Mario games. Like you look at every Mario games, those hold up not just based on like because Mario games don't have story,
right,
but they hold up because their gameplay was so good even now.
And so those aren't graphically dependent.
Yeah.
Diablo 2, on the other hand, had really good graphics for the time. And so a lot of what you're doing was amazing for the time. And so I'm playing through everything, and I went back last year, I think, and I tried to play it, and like from where I had played it so many times, it wasn't like the story really had much for me, and like the graphics and the gameplay were so like glitchy, I guess, in the sense that like they were like choppy, and that was just like really, really hard to look at. like after going and playing Diablo 3 where the gameplay is so fluid. And so like going back, like it still was fun, and like I played like a druid. I ended up leveling one pretty high, like nothing near what I used to, but I got him through like the campaign and stuff, and like I had a good time, but at the same time it's like you definitely could tell that it wasn't what it used to be.
Oh yeah.
So I wouldn't say it ages well.
Yeah. So you got that number 3.
So number 2, I'm gonna have to put HOTS.
I assume that's how it's gonna be.
So Heroes of the Storm number 2. It could probably be a number 1 game, but I've got too much time and love and hard work and just an insane amount of hours into World of Warcraft for me to be able to place it over it.
Yeah.
Like World of Warcraft, it's one of those games to where...
You know it's important whenever you mentioned number 2, but you're like, that's number 2, but here's number 1. Here's why it's number 1.
And like, just an insane amount of time. I haven't done a check to see how many hours I put into it in a long, long time. But the last time that I checked, it was over 180 24-hour days. Like it was approaching. I would guess I'm approaching 3,000 to 4,000 hours at this point.
Let's see. At that point, 180 days, right? 180. I can't do math. 4,320 hours.
I would assume I'm
real time hours.
Yeah, I'm assuming I'm getting close to the 5,000 hours, which they say once you put that much time into something, you're considered a master. So
yeah. I wish there was an achievement for that, so you can say, "Hey, I'm in that club."
Yeah, but I've put a lot of time, and that's like I said. That I mean, let's just assume I have like. This is strictly an assumption, as I said. I haven't checked in a long time. Let's say I have 250 days played. That's if I played from day 1 to day 250 straight 24 hours a day. Like that's how much time has been put into this game from 8th grade until now.
Granted, you get people like Anthony. Hate to throw Anthony, but Anthony would just sit AFK away from keyboard just a lot of the time and just be like, "Oh, I got tons of days." It's hard to throw him under the bus, even though he's going to be on the show.
Yeah, he definitely likes to AFK and just sit around sometimes. But yeah, there's been a lot of time between me and a lot of friends being put into World of Warcraft. So it's one of those to where I've had so many good times, so many hours, so many
of our friends played too. I mean, like you and me, Anthony, Caleb, Matt. Oh yeah, Matt played. Yep. So our Syndica. Vonica was
Syndica's mine.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He played Vonica and Slicka. And then Gnarls, the no mage.
Yeah. Yep. Matt played private servers as well. Mm-hmm. Let's see, and who else? You had Hunter Hurst. Mm-hmm. You had Jacob Morgan, right?
Josh Thompson. Like, it was just a really, really cool bonding.
Andy and Zeb. And Kyle. Mm-hmm. Kyle. I forgot Kyle played.
Yeah. And so it's one of those to where, like, you kind of keep up with people through this game. John Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Jared Levins. Dylan Wagner. Like, you had so many people play.
My gosh.
And so it was kind of...
Nick.
Yeah, Nick.
hate to throw Nick under the bus as well.
Yeah.
I guess I'm throwing shots at how bad our friends were at WoW, but Nick sucked at WoW. I'll just say it now.
So it was kind of a cool aspect, though. Like, a lot of people that you may not have really, like, had that much interaction with, well, you guys played WoW together and you have something to talk about and like a bonding experience. So it's kind of a cool thing. Like, some people like to hate on video games, but at the same time, like, I really enjoy the social aspect of them too.
There's a social aspect to them. I mean, like, people, like, I talk about me being in the Melee community. People are like, you're in a community for gaming. I'm like, yeah, and I've traveled to 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 different states to play games. We meet on a weekly basis. I talk to them regularly. You know, I'm in group chats with tons of Melee players. And it's not just like, oh, we're just nerds who sit on a couch and we meet up and play. We are friends who bond over something, and then as a result, we do things together, and it's all based on the game and the knowledge of the game.
I mean, you look at college, though, like when we were going through college, a lot of how our roommates ended up bonding was over your Super Smash Bros., your Blur, your different games like that, where we just kind of all come downstairs at once and, like, we bond over a single game that's just, like, it's fun. And, like, Blur was really cool because then you can just, like, take out your aggression. You're just destroying someone all game.
There were so many times where Nick, who had maybe had 2 or 3 beers in him,
Right. Oh. Yeah, and so like it's just fun. Like it just brings out, and like my first year in college when you would come over and we'd all play Smash together.
Yeah.
So like that group of roommates more than likely never would have hung out, but due to video games, we ended up bonding. Like,
and then even on like a less video gaming, but just gaming in general, we bonded a lot over board games too. I mean, we went through that like month stretch where we spent like $300 together on board games, where we all bought a version of Munchkin. We all bought
Munchkin's, Risk, 2110 or whatever
you
it
bought
was.
Carcassonne, you bought Catan, I bought Ticket to Ride.
Yeah.
And we pumped so many hours, even like not just with the roommates, but then we'd go down to David Miller's apartment. We'd play with Sam, we'd play with Zach, we'd play with Pat would even jump in, and we'd play with them, and it was just like a bonding experience.
And like going back home and playing like it was called Bang. It's like a card game where you've got like sheriffs.
You've played Bang?
I love that game.
Bang is so much fun.
Yeah, I played it over at Thomas Snyder's with Isaac and Malachi and all them, and it was like it's just a fun game that kind of brings everyone together. So like there's a lot of combining.
I found a Heroes of the Storm Bang.
Really?
Yeah, now that I know that you play Bang, I saw a version of it and took a picture of it. It's a legitimate thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
I could probably play it.
I thought I'd let you know that. It's just Bang, but just reskinned to Heroes.
That sounds pretty fun, actually.
I know. I was like, you said that, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe this connects. But yeah, that board game is another thing. Like, people have a bad stigma of like, oh, you're gonna go play Monopoly. It's not like that. It is not.
Monopoly is fun though.
I hate Monopoly.
I love Monopoly.
God, Monopoly.
I just play Slumlord and buy out the entire first half of the map.
Slumlord.
Yes, sir. So, one more like kind of quick overview. Blizzard games, love them. Epic series is. The movie's coming out soon, like we were saying earlier.
And the cool thing about you had just mentioned that whenever you came over this week, you can connect because like you have perks of going to see the movie, and you get perks for that in the games. Like that's so cool. That's genius.
And to build off of that, for Blizzard to be able to want you to branch out from one game. So, say I exclusively play World of Warcraft. Well, to get certain rewards in World of Warcraft. Okay, well, play HOTS and you can get this pet. Play Diablo and you can get this mount. Play StarCraft and you can get this.
Watch this Heroes of the Storm stream and you get a icon. Like, that's not even playing the games and you still get stuff.
So they had perks that intermingle between all of them, like get to level 70 on a seasonal hero in Diablo to get a mount in Heroes of the Storm.
That's so cool.
And then once you reach level, it was like 20 maybe in Heroes of the Storm, you got a pet in World of Warcraft. And then if you got to this level in World of Warcraft, you got this in this game. And so it's kind of cool how they've intermingled all their games, and it makes it a lot of fun. So
we nerded out way too hard.
Yeah, we nerded out really hard.
That's an hour and a half in, and we've only covered one topic.
It's been an hour and a half?
Yeah, it's been an hour and a half.
No.
We're not covering everything. I know that for a fact. We may cover one or two of them. I want to talk music.
Yeah.
You and I, we, like, in high school, I remember our senior year, we had, like, the same top 5, except, like, ours differed because, like, you had Bow Wow in it. And, like, I didn't have Bow Wow.
Yeah.
Which was...
I went back and listened to him the other day.
Did you really?
Had a blast.
Oh, my gosh.
I went back and listened to the Greenlight 5.
Greenlight 5,
Yep.
okay.
I was going to listen to 4, but then 5 has some bangers that I wanted to listen to and was just having the time of my life.
I still, like, there's times when I'm just like, dude, I want to listen to some Bow Wow. And I go back to his, like, album with Omarion where he had those, like, the singles that were actually, like, kind of hot. Like, I hate to say it because they were, like, super sappy, but they were kind of hot. And, like...
I go back and I listen to, like, Doing It My Way, Big Shit. He had like a couple other ones off Green Line 5 that like you just listen to the stretch from like I think it's like 6 to 10, and you're just like, man, that was good.
Yeah.
And so Bow Wow definitely has
had some stuff. It's a really
ever since he branched out from the Green Light, not been as big of a fan, but his Green Light series was awesome.
And that's where like I differ because I was just never a big Bow Wow guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think since then the music scene has changed so much. I mean,
and my music taste has changed.
Yours has changed and mine has changed. I mean, like, I like The Life of Pablo. You didn't. You love Young Thug. I'm not a
I do love Young Thug. I was listening to him on the way over.
Of course you were.
Yeah. I was listening to Slime Season 3.
It really differed when you first started getting to Boozy.
Oh, actually, I was talking at work the other day to some of my coworkers, and I mentioned Boozy, and literally the driver from UPS was there, and my 2 coworkers, and they're like, "You listen to Boozy?" And all of them listened to him, and they're currently all compiling me mixtapes of Boozy hits. So I'm pretty excited about that.
That's gonna be a fun day whenever you get like 3 Boozy mixtapes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it really started to differ because, like, I remember when you first got
incarcerated,
and I was like, you were like singing like "Devils Get Up Off Me, Devils Get Up Off Me," and I'm just like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
When did this happen?
I like Boozy a lot, actually.
And then I was like more getting into Kanye, and you were like, dude, why are you listening? New Kanye blows.
I like old Kanye a lot,
and I like new Kanye. Like I like both. I was getting into, I'm trying to think of other things where I was differing. I was like buying a lot more albums, and you were more like streaming albums off Spotify, and you were getting a lot more mixtapes. You got like all the Mac Miller mixtapes, another album, another artist I didn't get into. My
favorite of all time.
See, and then I got into a lot of like the indie rock stuff, and I don't think like you were into it. I think you were like you introduced me to it, but like with like Discovery's LP, great album.
Yeah.
Awesome album. But, like, I really got into, like, Dylan Hurt Jr., now the band Jr., and then, like, Young the Giant, and some of that, like, indie rock, and then, like, the XX. I got into those, and you were like...
I have both their albums.
Yeah, both.
Their first 2 albums.
Yeah, well, I think they're only 2 albums still.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I went back and listened to them the other day, actually.
Yeah, but, like, I was getting into them, and, like, I think that was my difference. And then, like... And then whenever we had that stint where we were only listening to the Zac Brown Band's album.
So I think my music preference actually kind of changed off of a joke.
Yeah, we're Rick Ross.
So you gave me God Forgives, I Don't as a joke, and it actually ended up becoming one of my more listened to albums.
We were like, everyone was so dumbfounded at work yesterday because I was rapping all of New Bugatti, and everyone was like, what is this, like, 120-pound white boy doing rapping Bugatti, and it was hilarious.
So I think my your joke gift, your little gag gift of Rick Ross,
we take those,
was kind of a swing though, because I actually really enjoyed it. When it was supposed to be a joke, it was actually a super enjoyable album to listen to.
Yeah,
and so I kind of started branching out off of that.
You're welcome, I guess, for introducing you to Rick Ross as a joke.
And so, in the past year, my music preference has really changed a lot. Favorite album or favorite artist currently, and has been for quite some time at this point, is Mac Miller. And so I went to the Mac Miller Good AM tour that came through Indy.
You and Anna?
Yeah, so we went to it, and they started bumping this song I'd never heard. And so... It's going, and I'm like, man, like I really like this. Like, what is this? And it's like in the pre-setup for Mac Miller's set while they're still setting up. And
please tell me it's a Rick Ross song.
No, so I'm listening to it, and I'm like, I really don't know what this is, but I really like it. And so I get home. My phone had died, of course. Your phone dies at all the important moments of your life.
Yeah, that's an important moment when you need to know what a song is.
No, a Mac Miller concert.
Oh, yeah.
And so I go home, and I remember the lyrics, and I'm like, don't you open up that window, don't you let out that antidote. And so I'm like, what is this? Travis Scott pops up.
Okay.
And so up to this point, I never really really gotten into Travis Scott or any of this style of music.
Yeah.
So I kind of started listening to him, and as you said, I hit Spotify, and I'm like, Travis Scott, Rodeo's a new release. So I click on it, and I start going through it, and each song, I'm just like, man, I like that. And the next song hits, and it's awesome too. And so I'm just getting pumped at home, like after a Mac Miller concert, listening to Travis Scott on Spotify. And so like I finally decided, after repeatedly looking up like on Spotify and different things, Travis Scott, I'm like, all right, it's time to buy the album. So I'll go ahead and buy it, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I was listening to him on the way over too. And so
those have been your like go-tos recently, as Young Thug and Travis Scott.
And so I'm really getting into the Travis Scott, and then I start hearing, like, I'll occasionally hear this new artist that I'm really digging too. He's in like Earl Sweatshirt and Mac Miller features.
Vic.
Yeah. So or Vince Staples.
Vince Staples, that's what I meant.
And so I'm like, okay, so I start dabbling into him, and it's like Summertime 06, or I think that's the name of his album. So I end up getting that album. I love it. And then I start like, based on styles of music and current features and everything else, I start listening a little bit of Young Thug. I start loving Young Thug. And then like, the more you kind of dive into music, then the more you find in music.
Totally.
And so the deeper you dive, the more there is.
I mean, yeah, I mean, and that's not just like with just like a single genre.
Right.
Like
any genre.
I mean, I remember when Dad first bought The Foundation by Zac Brown Band. Mm-hmm. And like, that's the only country album I own, and it's the only country album I quite frankly enjoy. I hate to throw country fans under the bus, but that's how it is. And like, it hit part of my like ears that other country wasn't hitting, because it wasn't bro country.
Right.
And so then that got me into kind of like that roots rock. I listened to a band called Danger Muffin. It's just a ridiculous name. It's a ridiculous name, but it kind of has that it's a roots rock kind of sound, where it's kind of like the roots of rock and roll. So it has that country sound, kind of like what's it called? The band Ramblin' Man. Have you ever? Lord, I was born a rambling man. Yeah. That song, like that, kind of has that like 50s rock, where it's like kind of country-esque because of like the vocals, because of the kind of folky as well. And then I randomly bought an album. I went to go buy a Dale Earnhardt Jr. album, Dale Earnhardt Jr. album, not Junior, not the NASCAR driver. Mm-hmm. And I went to buy it, and there was in the dollar bin, there was a band called Leroy Justice. It was a roots rock band, and I was like, dude, this is kind of amazing, because it had like that. We listened to that in my apartment. Like, it was like the last week before we moved out, and you're like, what is this? And I was like, Leroy Justice, and he just looked at me. And it was so good. Right. And sometimes, like, I think we set our expectations based on like what the genre is. Right.
So like I'm saying, I'm diving deeper into music in the past year, and so I found this artist named Rory.
Okay.
And so I kind of started diving into his stuff, and he's like this 18, 19-year-old kid coming out of Atlanta, and like his music is just one of those that's like, it really hits home. Like, I like music that makes me like, that like tells a story or makes you feel a certain way. Like, that's one of those things that I don't really, I like you said, I hate to throw country fans under the bus, but I hate country music, because it's just the same thing over and over, where
it doesn't hit what you want.
It doesn't hit what I want at all. And so like, whereas a lot of hip hop and different things, they hit home.
Yeah.
Or like, that's why Mac Miller's my favorite. Like, he tells his stories, and like the way that whatever his mood is, you feel that mood. Yeah. Like, it puts you in that mood, and that's one of those that's like, it's a really, really cool form of art.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you've got Rory, and he's got a song called Peace Prevailed, which I sent to you and Shane as soon as I heard it. And like, the whole idea of the song is like, he's just going through his life, and like, while there's so much like trouble and everything down in Atlanta, like, he wants peace to prevail, but like the way he tells his story over like such a mellow beat, it's like, it really hits home and puts you in a certain mood, and it's a really, really good feel. And then I found that one the other day, Homeboy Sandman, Life Support.
What a name.
Yeah, and I sent you guys that, and like the music video and like the song, it's just like, it's got this really, really, really like chill vibe, but at the same time, he's kind of going through a story and putting you in a mood, and like I like that kind of music.
And that's music nowadays, because you can like find an artist based on just like name, just like features, and then because of the internet, because of Spotify, because of that, if you know, music downloading or mixtape downloading sites, you can find whoever. It's less so like, I mean, to mention Jacob Macklemore, Chubbs, we only heard of Crit because of Chubbs. It was a word of mouth thing, and that's how music used to be.
And then Rory has a Crit feature.
Oh.
Which I didn't even know until I heard the song, and I was like, I know who that is.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a cool little connection that, like...
Same with Lecrae, the Christian rapper, has a Big Crit feature.
Really?
Yeah, I know. It was like, why is Big Crit on?
Right.
But it's like, the connections are cool.
Yeah.
So like, and I think that's cool how, like, especially hip-hop, you can make connections through music. I mean, like, you look at, a weird example. You look at the last song on Kanye's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. It was Bon Iver, and like, what's he doing on a Kanye song? But like, it fits so well. And hip hop, because of like samples. I mean, you look at like Poetic Justice by Kendrick. That's a Janet Jackson sample, and it sounds so pure and sounds so like, the sample is just like, oh, and that's what gets you into like some of that older music. I mean, like, I think whenever I first heard Otis by Jay-Z and Kanye, that was the reason why I got into Otis Redding, because I was like, the sample is amazing. Right. Where's that voice? Because I wasn't like accustomed to like the soul culture, the black like music culture of like the old days. And getting into that, you're just like, this is amazing. Why haven't I heard this? And then you get into it and you're like, oh, there's so much more.
So over by my house, there's actually a pizza place called Byron's Pizza. It's like this grilled pizza place. Anyway, so me and Anna are eating there today, and I went in, and they were just, all that they were playing was like soul jazz. And I like looked straight at her, and I was like, man, you know, like, I wish I had lived during this period. Because like the music is just like so full and so pure, and like the jazz culture was just amazing back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And so like it was just one of those to where like I was listening to this music in this little pizza parlor during 2016, and it was still like hitting home.
Music culture is just so different. I mean, you look at like the 80s, look at what was dominant. Like I'm not saying low skill, but like less like
hair bands,
which are like 4 chords, but like they resonate with people. I mean, usually my dad's seen ZZ Top like 12, like not 12 times, but enough to like he has to use 2 hands to count. He saw AC/DC multiple times, and AC/DC is not a hard band. That's like a beginner musicians, like for drums, guitar. That's what you're gonna get into because that's easy. And like that was the culture back then. Like it's crazy to think that's what was the culture.
But it's also the same thing now, but to a different extent. So you look at like a lot of radio music, and so they pick whatever's catchy. That's what the radio plays. So you've got like these really, really catchy songs that aren't good songs. They're just catchy. So like Designer's Panda.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier.
And it's like, yeah, it's a really catchy song and it sticks in my head, but that doesn't make it a good song.
Yeah.
At the same time, somebody else might argue the same point. That's a great song. I love that song. I play it all the time at all of my parties and in my car. Like, okay, to you it's a great song. To me, it's not.
But because there's different criteria, and I think that's the cool thing about music and everything. There's always different criteria because there's different ways of looking at things.
Right.
You and I are both very critical of music.
Right.
We talk about like, especially whenever like Caesar's around as well, and talking music with him. Who's also going to be on the show, crazy enough.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, no, that's going to be awesome. I think we'll probably just talk Kendrick the entire time. But, like, anytime a new Kendrick album drops or something, or a new Kanye album drops, we listen to it and we compare, like, what did you like about it, what did you not like about it. We, like, analyze it like an NBA analyst would analyze a basketball game, like gamers do some of their games. And we are very analytical, whereas someone else is just like, oh, it's on the radio, and that's what's catchy. I've never heard anything else on their albums.
Like going off Mac Miller, like his first album is literally one of the worst albums I've ever heard in my life.
Blue Slide Park, oh, it's terrible.
It's awful. But then his mixtapes leading up to watching movies with the sound off, leading up to Good AM, and Faces in between those, one of my favorite, my favorite Mac Miller projects of all time. Faces, like I said, leading into Good AM, like his music is amazing and resonates to you, and it's kind of sad because Blue Slide Park was like a sober radio hit style music, and then you get into watching movies and Faces and Good AM, and it's more drug induced music. But that's the music that like really brings out from like the inner, like what you actually feel.
And they're so cool. There's like themes in albums are so cool. Like I remember in college, this is a weird example, but I bought Rihanna's Talk That Talk. A weird example, but it's a full album.
She's a phenomenal artist.
Yeah. I think Work is a super overplayed song though.
It's overplayed, but the music video is amazing.
It's super catchy. It's way too catchy.
Yeah.
It's one of those where you're just...
Her new one, though, is amazing.
Yeah.
Her new song, new single.
But, like, I remember getting that, and everyone was like, I asked someone in my class, I was like, why should I buy this album? And she's like, it's an album for falling in love. And I was like, that's kind of cool. And I got it, and it's totally that. Like, I remember it was the album I listened to going into Nick's wedding. It's like, that's the vibe, going into a wedding. And I was listening to that, and I was like, yo, this makes sense for tomorrow or for today, this morning. I was listening to it whenever I was brushing my teeth in his basement. Like, I was like, this fits the scene so perfect because we're watching Nick go into marriage.
Right.
And it's cool when an album has themes like that. And it's so disappointing whenever like you have like Blue Slide Park, which had no themes. It was just...
The entire point of Blue Slide Park was radio bangers, and like that's not the kind of music I like.
Yeah.
So it was I wasn't really a big fan of Mac Miller back at that time.
So my point in bringing up music, to get back to what I originally was going to bring up, because we love tangents, what do you think of Coloring Book? Coloring Book is the new mixtape by
Chance the
Rapper. A lot of people don't know Chance.
Outside, you need to get to know Chance.
You need to get to know Chance, because Chance is, all his music is free.
Yeah.
Very socially aware artist, because he not only that, he's an advocate for like helping those in need. He's aware of like, I mean, you look at his song off Acid Rap where he's like, everybody's somebody's everything. Like that's such like thinking about those like that line, like.
So Chance the Rapper's group's name is actually the Social Experiment.
Yeah.
And so their entire idea is to release their art for free. And so you've got his beginning with 10 Days, which is when he got suspended for school for 10 days, and he actually released his mixtape during that time.
What do you get suspended for?
I was watching the story, it was probably a year or so ago. So he's like, I was always that guy who almost got caught, but never got caught. And he's like, so I was hanging out with this girl the night before, and so I brought 2 joints to hang out with her, and so she didn't want hers. I stuck it in my backpack, not thinking about it, smoked mine, everything was cool, we're just hanging out, being high school kids. And he's like, so then we ended up, I took her home, everything like that. I went to school the next day, I walked in, and it registered as soon as I walked in that I still had it in my backpack. So he's like, I literally did a 180-degree turn, walked right back out the door, and walked about 2 blocks away. So if you think of like Salem High School, he's up at like Matt Brickey's house title.
Back in the housing division.
Yeah, back in that housing division. So he said he gets back there, and then this cop comes flying up behind him. So the cop had saw him do the 180 at school and was coming to get him for like tardiness or kind of whatever the cop's idea was at that time. Searches his backpack, finds the joint, he gets suspended for 10 days. So he actually goes and records and releases this mixtape, which respectively titled 10 Days. And he ended up being like an internet phenomenon for the most part. Like this is some high school kid who just dropped this music out of Chicago, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And so he ended up recording Acid Rap after that, which it's still probably my favorite because it like to me
it's got such good tracks.
Everything about that mixtape is amazing,
and a lot of the features on it aren't like the big name features. I mean, like you look
besides Gambino.
Gambino is still kind of like he's big, but he's not like a platinum artist,
right?
Whereas
he should be.
He should be, yeah.
He's not.
But he like you look at it was Action Bronson and BJ the Chicago Kid, Bino, and you had what's his name? Was it the Top Dog guy?
Absol's on
Absol, yeah. One of the song about smoking, of course. So like it was all like mixtape features, whereas this one has like Kanye.
Yeah.
Like that's all, and Future and Lil Wayne and 2 Chainz. I mean, those are all names that like people outside of the hip hop.
Acid rap hits home for me because it was the crossover summer at 1201. I'm getting ready to go to the pool, or we're getting ready to go do this. It was that exciting summer, and acid rap, I played it all the time.
Yeah.
That was my go-to jams that summer. Like, acid rap hit everything I wanted it to. And like it's one of those that just really like hits home for me. And so Coloring Book released, and it's more of like a Christian pride, but it also has its bangers. It has it like standout songs to me, like Same Drugs and mixtapes and everything like that. And so Coloring Book was amazing, but at the same time, I don't know if it exceeded acid rap for me yet.
It'll take time. I mean, it's only been a week.
Right.
It is. I mean, whenever I first described it, I was like, it's a gospel album. And I was talking to Mom about it. I was like, you need to listen to this album. She's like, why? I was like, well, for one, it's the first album I think I could listen to with my grandpa. Granted, it's gonna have some things that he's not gonna enjoy, but like how great the first half of the song is how great is our God. Like, what is that for an album? That is not conventional,
right?
And especially for the hip hop genre, that is not like, you may get like some soul samples. You look at early Kanye with like Jesus Walks, where it was just like it was mentioning like just Jesus in general, but this is just straight like a gospel choir singing about God in a major hip hop release. It was number one on Billboard, not based on sales because all his music is free, based on streams. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about. What do you think about that? Like the idea that like you can chart. It was weird because Ultralight Beams, the Kanye song with Chance. He was like he was saying that his songs will never chart because he releases them for free. That was more or less what one of his lines was. And now here he is charting because he had an exclusive deal with iTunes. Do you think like what do you think that says for like the music scene with it going to streaming as even like a charting thing?
I was actually thinking about this the other day. Like, I see things like your Spotify's, your Tidal, your Apple Music, things like that really, like, honestly taking over the genre to where they have enough money to be able to purchase pretty much every artist and every works. And with the current viability like of cell phone data, and I'm able to pull up anything I want at any point that I want for the most part, I see that really taking over as a genre, like as the means of music.
And then they have like the premium subscriptions where like if you don't pay for it, you got it on your computer. That's what a lot of people do. You pay for premium, you have offline capabilities, download, like that's what I did with Tidal. I had my first month of Tidal. I used the free month and just downloaded Kanye's new album. I downloaded the Kendrick or the EP, the Untitled, or
that was a good one.
What was it? Untitled
EP or Untitled Unmastered.
Untitled Unmastered, and you had that, and then I had I even had the Wayne 2 Chainz like collab album, even though it was garbage. I mean, like, might as well take advantage of it. So like I was able to like take advantage of like having the offline capabilities of having those albums that I wanted on demand instead of just having the. I just got excited because of that note. Instead of having like the full capabilities of the whole scheme of like the music scene.
Right. So I don't know. Chance the Rapper's Coloring Book, absolutely amazing. Acid Rap, absolutely amazing. 10 Days had some really good songs like Brain Cells and some other different ones that were really good. Didn't have like a full album feel like I would like, but for the most part, 2 of his 3, and then his Social Experiment with
Surf. Did you did you get
I have Surf, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you actually got it because I was like, did he ever get it?
Yeah,
and it was
it's great.
Super great features.
And then he brought up Tokyo, who's got like what is the name of that song? Like God Only Knows or something like that with Tokyo. It's amazing. And like, so Chance the Rapper has a lot of really, really good songs. I like artists who can tell stories. I like artists who really give you a full vibe
and hit on the issues as well. It's not just like I'm gonna go sip on some perp. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna actually like hit the things that people care about. I'm gonna talk about. I mean, like even like things like depression.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Cuddy did that too. Like we listened to 808s and Heartbreak right in the middle of work today, and I was like, oh, this is like a super like this was the first time that people really got into like the emotional side of rap.
Right. All right, we're back. 64 ounces of beer will definitely hit you hard.
Hit the bladder a little bit. And both of us. And we did some cleaning. Get some stuff out of the way. Maybe a little murky or a little smoky in here. Mr. Thompson had to smoke his vape a little bit.
By the way, I want to dive into a random tangent about vaping.
Okay. So I saw your article that you posted.
So I've been posting quite a bit on Twitter. A lot of what they're doing to vaping is negative, and so that's really kind of sad to see. So you have big tobacco companies, and then you have tiny vaping companies. So the idea of the vape world is we're going to introduce this product that has different nicotines if you want it all the way down to zero nicotine. So it goes from 0, 1.5, 3. They probably offer different ones, but you got like your 6s, 12, 18, 24, all the way up to 32 milligrams of nicotine. 32 is an absurd amount of nicotine.
Of course.
If you don't really know like your measurements. So is what the vaping company did is they released propylene glycol and vegetable glycerine, and then they mixed it with a little bit of flavoring and nicotine. That's essentially what vape juice or e-liquid or e-juice, whatever you want to call it, is.
Okay.
So their whole point was we're going to offer this. You can start drastically lowering your nicotine count till you get to 0, and then suddenly, I don't want to vape anymore. I don't need to smoke. So that's their whole idea behind the vape scene, and it's like a really, really good movement.
I mean, from example, I saw Tom Cyphers, like he was on one, and like I don't know how successful he's been since then, but like the fact that like they're using it not to just like smoke because it's the hip thing, but it's supposed to be a way of not using patches, a way of getting people off of nicotine.
And I've seen so many people quit smoking cigarettes because of vaping, and then quit vaping because they were able to go through a nicotine step and didn't need to smoke anymore. Like, you do have your occasional people who want to just vape because it is enjoyable. Like, they have great flavors and things like that. So like some people do like the vaping community, and there's like the very small percentage of people who do the contest, see how big of clouds we can blow, things like that. Like,
such a weird concept to me.
It is, but they're smaller, and their whole argument is nothing we're doing is negative because this is just a testament to our lung capacity now. We can hold this much smoke now, and this much vapor now.
Vapor, not smoke. Yeah.
Right. We can hold this much vapor now because we don't smoke anymore. Well, I can go out and run this far because I don't smoke anymore. I didn't used to be able to do this, and that's kind of like their whole point going into it. And so, vaping has done a lot of positive things for a lot of people, but it's done some negative things for people. The big tobacco company, and so essentially, is what's happened is the big tobacco company is using it to lobby, you need to enforce them the same way that you enforce tobacco products. You need to do, like, to the FDA. So is what's happened is the FDA has, like, after getting millions and maybe even billions of dollars from the big tobacco companies, is finally like, okay, we're going to crack down on vapor. Well, these big companies can't go through the same restrictions and everything that you currently have set forward for the big tobacco,
because tobacco has been around for centuries,
over 100 years. Like these certain companies.
These certain companies, but tobacco in general has been around for
centuries and centuries and centuries.
So I mean,
I'm talking about like your Philip Morris, like your different like large tobacco giants that are still around. So they're losing money to the vaping industry because people suddenly are like, I don't have to smoke cigarettes anymore.
Okay.
I realized that through this. And so a lot of the restrictions coming forward are comparable to what Big Tobacco has. So like one of the restrictions is that you have to have 24-hour security and an armed security officer. You have to keep samples from all of them in a test lab at a certain temperature. And then like the newest restrictions are that you have to pass everything through the FDA. Well, this is like $1 million process, and I'm not saying that as an exaggeration. Like, it'll literally cost you around $1 million to get something finally through an FDA string to where you can release it to the market. Well, if me and you are starting up a startup vapor company, we don't have $1 million to be able to go through this process. Big Tobacco has billions and billions of dollars to be able, I'll throw $1 million to get this new product through, no problem. So a lot of what's going on is really sad because Big Tobacco is lobbying all this money to be able to restrict the vaping companies because they're losing money and they're losing smokers. And so it's really like a sad reality what's currently happening. And unless like a lot of people go through and sign these petitions or go through and actively speak to Congress, like nothing's going to get changed, and vaping is going to die, and cigarettes are going to be around, and people are going to die, and the trend continues on.
Yeah.
And so it's really like a sad reality what's currently going on, and I hate it, and I've been actively trying to.
Yeah.
And I know that like the particular vape shop in Indy that I go to, Vape Gods, like Nash and all of them are currently really trying hard to stop these restrictions that are going in, because if they go in, there's no way for vaping to survive.
Yeah.
And maybe one or two companies survive, but then they quickly get shut out because big tobacco companies release a few low quality vape juices at the gas station, and people are like, and after $1 million process, you have to be able to make your money back. Mm-hmm. So suddenly vaping prices rise, and suddenly it's cheaper to smoke cigarettes. And suddenly it's cheaper to do things the big tobacco way because they have the money to be able to throw at it like this. And it's a sad reality, and I'm very hopeful that it will get stopped, but I'm not that optimistic that it will.
I totally agree. I think watching as people quit the steps, as you say, use the steps to get off of all nicotine, all tobacco, all vaping is a beautiful thing, and I hope that stays around. My worry was always, like, what's the long-term effects, because tobacco has been studied over centuries.
So you've had like your big Ivy League colleges do a lot of studies on vaping because it's a hot button issue.
Yeah.
And so everything from 2007 on has been extensively studied by these Ivy League colleges, like your Harvards and your different places like that. And all of the studies have found that it's 95% safer than cigarettes.
What's if you don't mind me asking, just to be more informed,
right,
what's the 5%?
And so, like, you still have nicotine in almost all your e-juices.
Yes.
So you ultimately, to reach 100%, it would be zero nicotine e-juices. Mm-hmm. There are a couple e-juices that aren't that safe. Guess who they're made by? Big tobacco companies. Huh. So you go to the gas station and pick up a little e-cig pen made by Swisher Sweet, made by Marlboro, made by Camel. Well, those aren't going to be as safe for you as if I go to my local vape shop and pick up certain vaping brands like Coil Oil or Mad Scientist that are actually made to help people stop. Because they, like, their whole goal is for people to use their product to stop smoking. Big Tobacco's whole process is use these, they're super crappy quality, they don't last very long, and you're stuck with it.
Yeah, and it's high nicotine, so you're gonna want more. Mm-hmm. You're gonna want something that's maybe even stronger. You may want straight tobacco.
And so I think so Big Tobacco's lobbying is an issue, and like there's a lot of vape stores currently that are also adding to the issue, which is sad to see. when I first started vaping, I went to a vape shop on Lafayette Road, and
I was with you.
Yeah, and so I went there, and I'm just like, yeah, man, like I really want to try this. They're not informative at all. They don't help you at all. Instead, their whole thing is, well, yeah, you're the consumer. What do you want? And it's like, well, I don't know what I want. That's why I'm here asking you questions instead of ordering it offline for cheaper.
Yeah.
And so I finally found the one I currently go to, Vape Gods, and like,
where's their location?
They're over in Lawrence.
Okay.
Franklin Road, exit 41. Anyway,
just so people can know, because we're all about supporting local business
northeastern
here.
To eastern, kind of in that little.
It's on the east side, just off of 465.
Yep.
Right by just south of 56th Street.
So I go there, and like the first time I walk in, the owner's there. His name's Nash. Amazing guys, like super cool. And he's like, so what do you want? And so I kind of explained to him. So he lays out all these items for me to try first, because he's like, I don't want you to buy something and not like it. I want you to try all these things. And so he's letting me try everything. And like every time I buy something new, like he goes through and like I say I buy a new RDA, he shows me how to wrap coils specific to this RDA to get the best vapor based on whether I want taste or whether I want smoke or vapor production and kind of everything I want. And then like every time a new flavor comes in, he'll like shoot me a text like, hey Avery, just thought you'd be interested to know, got these new flavors in, bring in the RDA so you can try the new flavor next time. And if you don't have it, well, I'll just pull. I went in there before and he's literally pulled one off of his shelf, like what he's trying to sell, pulled it and like built it for me so that I can try something, because he wants you to like the product. That's more important to him than anything else, because his whole point is vaping is better than smoking. So that's like, it's all about where you go to, because if you go to just some random vape shop that's like a commercial chain at that point, like you're not going to get the service you're going to get at places like that.
Totally, yeah.
And so it's just like, that's the biggest reason I actually got into vaping. It's because of him, like going through and explaining everything. And well, these places aren't telling you this. I don't know why, because this is how it needs to be done. This is vapor safety, because like there's been like the occasional person's vape device blowing up. That's due to poor care. You didn't take care of your vape, but at the same time, that's because no one told you.
I mean, yeah, it's like if someone...
Like, you need to know battery safety. You need to know coil building. You need to know Ohm's law. You need to know how to build. Need to know everything.
It's like if someone goes out and buys a car. Okay, brand new car right off the lot.
And no one tells you anything about it.
No one tells you anything about it, and you don't know anything about it because you're lack of common sense or something. Lack of knowledge. So you go out and you drive, you run out of gas. You don't know that. You go 3,000 miles, oil hasn't been changed. You don't know that. Tire blows out. You don't know that can happen. Yeah. It's just being uninformed. So like it makes sense that those things are happening because people are being uninformed about the things that they're investing in.
Yeah, and so like I said, any of the other places I've ever went before this, I didn't learn anything. It's literally like, here's this, go use it.
It's like when I hate to put my elderly viewers on the line or on the the chopping block, but it's when they go out and buy a smart TV and only use it to watch cable,
right?
Like because they don't know and aren't being taught what capabilities they can reach with their TV.
Right, and it's kind of one of those that it's really sad to see, because if you're working in the industry, you should be actively educating people on things like battery safety.
Because that's your knowledge.
Battery safety is one of the biggest things, like people just sitting there and like using your mech mods and your hybrid mods and not knowing what they're doing. Like with like the hybrid mods is the biggest case of people like having it explode in their face, and it's unregulated, so it's pushing a large amount of electricity into a device, but the way that it's set up, your pins aren't connecting, and so the whole way you're getting your power and everything else, it becomes very dangerous if you don't know good battery safety and what to like, which batteries to use. Like once they start losing their casing, then they start becoming susceptible to different issues, and like certain mods, like your mech mods, that like if as soon as I push that button, it's unregulated. I'm getting as much electricity as that battery can push. If I didn't build for that and it blows up, that's on me, and that's on the person who sold it to me too for not telling me.
Yeah.
And it's like they might not feel like they're can be put in the place of the blame, but at the same time, if you're selling it to someone, they need to know.
Of course, yeah. That's your job.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
if I sold you a diesel car and didn't tell you it was diesel,
and you fill it up with like unleaded, you're doomed.
Like you're going to tear up your engine, and it's just like it's just a lot of people don't have electrical knowledge, and it's like that's just one thing that just minor electrical information when you're first getting your vape can change the way that it works for you and significantly reduce the harm. So that's kind of one of those things where a lot of the vape stores are also to blame. Now with the internet, people buy offline too, so that's their fault. Like if you're going to buy something, you need to be able to know what it can and can't do, and
be willing to put in the time and for the research to know like how to how to have maintenance for this thing that I'm using for intake.
Yeah. So, but they're so the issues are so rare that but the media wants to put them in the spotlight. Why? Big tobacco lobbying, and it's just like it's a really, really sad situation what's currently happening. That's my vapor rant currently because I don't want to see it die. I want it to stay alive. It's something I really, really enjoy.
You have for a while.
I have for a long time now, and it's just like it's something that I actively enjoy doing, and I would hate to see it go away. And you've got your people, like let's say you work with some lady, she's in her 40s, she used to smoke, she vapes now. Vaping goes away, I'll just smoke again. It doesn't matter to her that much, but that little bit that she smoked vapor, she felt healthier. And let's say a cigarette takes 7 to 11 minutes off, like the study says, of your life. Like that little period where she was vaping, she finally had got away, but it didn't register to her enough that like what she was doing was that much better for her, and going back to cigarettes isn't going to be an issue, and that's something we need to stop.
Some people just think of like smoking, or like, you look at smokers, and a lot of times I'll use this pen. They hold things like a cigarette, and they'll like put things in their mouth. Yeah. That's because they're like that's what they're accustomed to doing, and that like vaping is another way of doing that. Like it's just a habit of you just like enjoying to inhale things, or just like.
And they make the vape mods to feel like cigarettes. They make the vape mods to be larger cylinders to replicate that, and then they make these giant box mods right here.
There we go. Yeah. Put that on camera.
So they make like these giant box mods that allow you to push like a lot higher wattage and different things like that.
Because that uses like, how many batteries does that have?
I use 2 different batteries, and I have 2 different sets that I actively recharge and everything like that, and it can push up to 150 watts, which for people who don't know that much about electricity, that's like twice the amount that a large scale computer would put out.
Yeah.
And it can do that to allow you to go anywhere from 10 watts all the way up to 150, depending on where you want to be. Like it controls everything so that you can have the enjoyable experience. And that's one of those things I don't want to see it die, and it bothers me to see the current like big tobacco lobbying against it, because they're losing money, and it's just one of those that I just really, really hope doesn't happen. But it's looking pretty grim.
Yeah, this is unfortunate.
Yeah,
we've covered like more or less 4 topics in 2.5 hours.
Okay.
I think for the viewers at home, I think it's time to wrap up.
Okay.
I hate to say it for the first episode. It's been wonderful to be able to talk on things that we both know about, and things that like I didn't know about, and things that probably people at home didn't know about. So like it's cool to be able to be informed on just like everything. Right. And that's like that's the basis of the show. It's so people can learn things about the interests that we have. And it's also good to like, we talked about like gamers being nerds on couches. You talk about like smokers being just like that atypical person. It's diminishing stigmas as well. And so like it's cool to be like a part of a process like that. So like I can't thank you enough for having you on.
Yes, sir.
Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And honestly, I couldn't have had a better guest.
It does not feel like it's been 2.5 hours.
I know. And we took that bathroom break, and I was like, how's it feel to be talking for 2 hours? And you're like, it's been 2 hours.
Yeah, I didn't even notice because I don't know. I get so passionate about Blizzard games and music and everything that goes on. Like those are the things I'm passionate about, and vaping especially. That wasn't even on the list of possible topics, but it's one of those that like it really hits home for me because you don't want to see those things go away. Or similarly with Blizzard games, like it's one of those that you just want to talk about because that's what's tailored a lot of your life.
Yeah, that's true. It's 100 and it was like almost 4,000 or almost 5,000 hours.
Yeah, we're
probably rocking 5,000 hours. So like being able that's
just one game too.
One game too, and like that's
not counting HOTS,
and not counting HOTS, not counting Diablo 2,
or 3, or Hearthstone,
or just Blizzard content in general.
It's ridiculous.
So like these things make up a large portion of your life. Mm-hmm. So like it's cool that people can get like a small slice of it and say, I learned something about like this person's life.
Right. I learned that Avery Thompson is a giant nerd.
A giant, an emphasis on giant, and another major emphasis on nerd because you are massive and you are a huge nerd. So like, I think it's a good way to end the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been a pleasure. Show will be up. It's on Monday. So you guys are watching it now. This is.
If you made it this far.
If you made it this far. Praise the Lord that you made it this far. So, yeah. I'm Dylan St. Clair, and that's Buds Aplenty episode 1.
Avery Thompson, what's up, fam?
Boom.